Chapter 1300. The early morning sunlight shone in through the window, golden. Tang Jing opened his eyes and looked left and right, but there was no sign of Fang Shishir and Yi Ding Dang. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but reveal a disappointed and frustrated expression, and said in retrospect, it was indeed a dream, but that dream was too real, and the things that happened in the dream were endless. The battle last night was extremely intense and could be said to be soul-stirring. The woman's physique was extremely good, and it could be said that she had met her match. He was bold and did not reject anyone. In the end, after a hearty battle, he finally defeated the two girls and pressed them under his body. He could only gasp for breath and beg for mercy, crying out continuously. He put on his clothes and came to the hall, just in time to see Fang Shishir and Yi Ding Dang walking down the stairs. The two girls' faces were full of spring, their skin was delicate and lustrous, and they had a kind of lazy beauty. Tang Jing did not notice that the two of them looked at each other and glanced at Tang Jing at the same time. There was an indescribable bashfulness in the depths of their eyes. Marshall walked to the side of the two girls and started whispering to each other, making it impossible for anyone to guess what they were talking about. Seeing that the few of them were happy and harmonious, Tang Jing smiled. This way, there would be less danger of a fire in the backyard. However, after looking at the graceful figures of the two girls for a while, his mind couldn't help but recall the beautiful dream he had last night. His heart moved, and his body became hot and dry. Cough, cough. He coughed dryly and suppressed the thoughts in his heart. Bang! Suddenly, with a muffled sound, the door was knocked open. A witch clan member rushed in and shouted in panic, "Lord Envoy, something bad has happened." Tang Zheng's expression turned cold, all of his attention was focused on the witch clan. He quickly walked to the front of the witch clan and said, "Don't panic, speak slowly, what happened?" The witch clan gasped for breath, gasping for breath, and said impatiently, "The teleportation formation in the backyard opened, and Yi Yuan flew out from the teleportation formation." Yi Yuan. A young face surfaced in Tang Zhang's mind. Yi Yuan was one of the witch tribesmen that he was most familiar with, and was also the witch tribesman that followed him the best. Previously, in order to ensure Tang Linger's safety, Tang Zheng had specially assigned Yi Yuan to stay by Tang Linger's side to protect her. After that, Tang Linger did not encounter any danger and predicted that there would be no danger in the near future. In the current entertainment industry, everyone had a common understanding: no one should ever provoke Tang Linger. Although she wasn't a superstar, her mysteriousness and the power behind her didn't pale in comparison to a superstar. Her path to stardom was smooth sailing, making countless people envious and jealous. Tang Linger was considerate of Yi Yuan's hard work and insisted that he bring a group of witch clan members back to the island for a vacation. Before Yi Yuan left, he exchanged for a new group of witch clansmen to protect Tang Linger's safety, and only then did he return to the island in peace for a vacation. Right now, the island was the home of the witch clansmen. All of their family members lived on the island, and this group of witch clansmen was outside all year round, so they really missed their family members. They hurriedly returned to the island, and before they left, they even met with Tang Jing. Hearing that Yi Yuan had flown out from the transmission array, Tang Jing was shocked, his face was as gloomy as water, and asked, "Where is Yi Yuan?" "The teleportation array is there." Whiz! Tang Zheng's figure flashed, and he had already rushed out of the door. The others also realized that the situation was serious, and hurriedly chased after him. A portion of the witch clansmen had already gathered at the transmission array. There were quite a few witch clansmen stationed in this villa area. This place was equivalent to a transit station between the island and the outside world. The witch clansmen were no longer frogs in a well. One after another, they traveled back and forth between the island and the outside world in batches. In the outside world, the witch clansmen mainly provided protection to important people who were closely related to Tang Jing. Of course, Tang Jing did not only treat the witch clansmen as security personnel. He had invited many people to train the witch clansmen, allowing them to learn all kinds of knowledge from modern society and adapt to it. Some of the smart witch clansmen had already learned a lot of modern knowledge and had truly integrated into modern society. They would hold certain positions in the company and rise up step by step. This was Tang Zheng's idea, or rather, the path he had designed for the witch clansmen. Both martial arts and modern knowledge were equal, giving them enough choice. From afar, Tang Zheng saw Yi Yuan, who was lying on the grass. His face was pale, his body was covered in blood, and his clothes were dyed in a dark red color. "Get out of the way, Lord Envoy is here." The witch clansman quickly moved to the side, opening up a path for Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng squatted down and called out, "Yi Yuan." There was no response. "He's unconscious from his injuries," a witch clansman reminded. Tang Zheng could also see that 2 fingers were placed on his wrist, and a stream of innate qi drilled into Yi Yuan's meridians. Because the 2 of them had both cultivated the primal chaos Vajra spell before, the innate qi had some similarities, and Yi Yuan's innate qi did not resist this external force. Tang Zheng frowned, and after a while, he was able to clearly investigate Yi Yuan's body. His injuries were not easy. If he did not treat them, they would worsen. Yi Yuan was unconscious and could not provide any useful information, so treating his injuries and saving his life was the most important thing. Tang Zheng channeled his power and silently healed Yi Yuan's injuries. The others chased after him, and when they saw this scene, they were shocked. Yi Yuan was not an ordinary person, it would not be easy to heavily injure him to such an extent. The most important thing was that he was on an island. There were many witch clansmen living on the island, and there were also elders guarding the island. In addition, there were also Thundercloud Beast and Gue Qiansui. Gue Qiansui transformed into an island and moved with the ocean currents. His position was uncertain, so it was not easy to lock onto the island. But now, Yi Yuan was severely injured and flew out of the transmission array. This was too intriguing. The island must have been attacked, and it was not just a normal attack. The fact that the others did not come out of the transmission array could only mean one thing. With that thought, everyone's hearts tensed up, especially the witch clansmen. They all looked at the transmission array, their eyes filled with worry. Their loved ones were on the island. If anything happened to them, what would they do? It was hard to imagine that scene. Whoosh! Tang Zheng heaved a heavy sigh of relief and released Yi Yuan's hand. After the treatment was over, Yi Yuan would not be in too much trouble. However, Yi Yuan had not woken up yet, and Tang Zheng could not wait any longer. He stood up with a whoosh, his face was as cold as ice, and his eyes seemed to want to kill someone. The island was one of his backers, and the witch clan was equivalent to his family. However, they had suffered such a serious attack. He felt the same way, and blamed himself in his heart. He was the envoy of the witch clan. The entire witch clan had entrusted their lives to him, but he had not been able to protect them. This was his dereliction of duty, a serious dereliction of duty. Tang Zheng's breathing became heavy, every breath he exhaled seemed to be filled with anger and killing intent. He urgently wanted to know who was so blind as to actually dare to touch the witch clan. Seeing Tang Zheng's reaction, everyone felt the same way and hurriedly advised, "Don't be anxious, maybe, the situation is not as bad as you think." Tang Zheng remained silent, and handed Yi Yuan over to the other witch clan members, and warned them, "Take good care of him, I will help him, and seek an explanation for all of you." The witch clansmen looked at him with blazing eyes and said, "Lord Envoy, we believe in you. You must teach the enemy a lesson." Tang Zheng nodded his head heavily, his gaze sweeping past the faces of the witch clan members one by one, then he walked to the front of the transmission array, moving his 10 fingers together, a mysterious power surging out. The transmission array was activated. The others had already seen through Tang Zheng's thoughts from his reaction, and no one tried to persuade him anymore. This sudden turn of events made everyone feel as if a huge rock was pressing down on their hearts. Tang Jing took large strides into the teleportation array and disappeared. Empyrean Fairy followed closely behind and walked into the transmission array, her figure disappearing from the transmission array. Tian Chanzi said in a deep voice, "I'll stay at home to guard in case anything happens." A few witch clan representatives also impatiently walked into the transmission array. At such a critical moment, the witch clan members did not forget their mission, so they left behind a large number of people to protect the safety of the villa area. "I'll go too." Yi Dingdang impatiently rushed into the transmission array. Wu Wu followed her closely and disappeared together. The situation on the island is still unclear. Don't send too many people. We have to believe in Tang Jing and wait for his news. Tian Chanzi saw that the other girls were also impatient to chase after him, and hurriedly spoke up to stop them. The few of them were anxious, but in the end, they restrained their impulses and paced back and forth in front of the transmission array. On the island, when Tang Jing walked out of the transmission array, what he saw made his anger rise even higher. The originally beautiful island that was like a paradise had become a living hell. Tall trees had fallen to the ground, burning with flames and emitting black smoke. He quickly rushed forward. He did not see any witch clan members, nor did he see any corpses. He only saw a lot of blood on the ground. There are no corpses. Perhaps it's a good situation. It means that they're not dead. Tang Jing comforted himself. However, he was also very clear that this was a fluke. The real situation was probably far more serious than he had imagined. This island was not big. Tang Jing had been here several times and was already familiar with it. Therefore, he quickly arrived at the place where the witch clan lived. He stopped in his tracks. There was no longer a good house in front of him. It had all turned into a pile of ruins, burning with raging flames and emitting black smoke. Bang! 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 A burst of hurried footsteps came from behind him. Tang Jing did not turn his head. He knew that the others had caught up. Sure enough, these people stopped in their tracks and stared blankly at the scene in front of them. Their anger also surged up. Too miserable. The witch clan's home had been destroyed. In the past, there had been so much laughter here, but now, it had become like this. Any one of the parties found it difficult to suppress their anger. A few of the witch clan members became even more agitated. They rushed into the ruins as if they had gone mad. The raging flames were unable to stop their footsteps. They called out the names of their family and friends again and again, but no one answered. Only the crackling sound of the burning house could be heard. The sea breeze blew, blowing the smell of smoke and dust, as well as the stench of blood, stimulating people's nerves. Chapter 1301. The sea breeze blew as if it was crying. The witches were sobbing in a low voice, looking around helplessly. Wu walked forward step by step. Bang! His legs bent and he also knelt on the ground. He muttered to himself in a daze, "Where are the people? Where are the people of the martial organization?" Those who followed Wu Junshan and left the martial organization had been living on the island. The martial organization had always been isolated from the rest of the world. Even after they left the martial organization, they did not integrate into the outside world. Instead, they concentrated on cultivating on the island. Because of the attack of the island nation Yamada no Orochi, the martial organization suffered heavy losses. In the end, only a few people were left. Without a doubt, these people who followed Wu Junshan were all his confidants. They had been together with him day and night. Naturally, their feelings were not shallow. This time, the island seemed to have been wiped out. The people of the martial organization were also in danger. How could we stay out of it? Her mood could be imagined. Seeing Wu kneeling on the ground as if he had lost his parents, how could Tang Jing not understand her thoughts? He quickly helped her up and comforted her. Wu, we haven't found them yet. We can't make a conclusion. Don't worry. Wu raised his head listlessly and said weakly, they're all gone. Tang Jing frowned. He did not know how to comfort her. Especially the other witches, their relatives and friends were all gone. The grief in their hearts was indescribable. Gue Qiansui, come out for me. Tang Jing lifted his foot and fiercely stomped it as he roared with a booming voice. After waiting for a while, a weak voice sounded, Master. Gue Qiansui had already recognized Tang Jing as his master. Hearing his master's call, he finally spoke. This island was formed by Gue Qiansui. Since the island was still there, Gue Qiansui was naturally there too. He must have witnessed everything that happened on the road. Where are the people? Where are the people on this island? Hearing Gue Qiansui's voice, Tang Jing asked angrily. Cough cough. Gue Qiansui coughed and said weakly, Master, your subordinate is useless. I couldn't protect them. They were killed by the enemy. Those who were killed, and those who were captured. When they heard these words, they felt as if they were struck by lightning. Their bodies trembled violently, and their complexions became extremely pale. What did you say? Tang Jing asked in a deep voice. Gue Qiansui's voice trembled. The martial organization's people were all killed. Ah! A shriek of despair rang out. It was heart-wrenching. Marshall had never lost his composure like this before. He almost fainted. Tang Jing hurriedly supported her. Yi Dingdang also hurriedly helped and hugged her shoulders. They were all killed. Yes. Gue Qiansui hesitated and answered honestly. Tang Jing's heartstrings trembled. There was a boom in his brain, as if it had exploded. He had a deep relationship with the martial sect. Although he did not have much contact with the martial sect, because of Martial June Mountain, the relationship between the two parties deepened day by day. Wu Junshan and his wife had left quietly. Naturally, the people of the martial order had been entrusted to him. However, he had failed to protect these people. Instead, he had caused all of them to die. No matter what, he could not absolve himself from the blame. He struggled to restrain the guilt in his heart. His voice trembled as he asked, where are they? If they were alive, he wanted to see them. If they were dead, he wanted to see their corpses. Although these people were dead, he could not let their corpses be exposed in the wilderness. On the beach. Tang Zhang's expression turned cold. Previously, he had searched around the island but did not go to the beach. Marshall suddenly stood up and crazily rushed to the beach. When the others saw this, they all chased after her. From afar, they could see people lying on the beach. It made their hearts tighten. Marshall quickly came to a person and squatted down to check. There was no sign of life. She was unwilling and quickly checked the others. Her busy figure came back and forth on the beach. Each time, there was more despair in her eyes. The grief between her eyebrows was more intense. Finally, she stopped and knelt on the beach. She looked up to the sky and shouted, "Ah, why?" Tang Jing walked to her side with heavy steps and squatted down. He held her hand and looked at her with tears in his eyes. "Marshall, I swear to you that I will definitely avenge them. Even if I die, even if I have to go to the ends of the earth, I will still kill them." Tang Jing said resolutely with killing intent. Marshall finally turned her head and threw herself into his embrace. Her entire body trembled as she choked with sobs and said, "You must avenge them." Tang Jing nodded his head heavily, looking at the corpses on the beach, his killing intent soaring. The martial sect was completely annihilated, but it was strange that he did not see a single witch. His voice was low as he suppressed his anger and asked, "Gue Qiansui, where are the witches?" "They've all been taken away." "Who is it?" Who the hell did all of this? Tang Zhang was about to explode as he roared. Demon Clan! Demon Clan! Tang Zhang gritted his teeth. He had never thought that the Demon Clan would actually attack the witches. Suddenly, his heart was enlightened. Although the island was hidden, Qiyu had lived in his body for so long that he knew a lot about the island. Qiyu's cunning and strength were beyond doubt. If he tried his best to find the island, although it would take him a lot of effort, it would not be difficult for him. Who is the person who came? A team led by a very ugly woman. Her strength is very strong. Gue Qiansui said with lingering fear. Lu Wuxin. Tang Zhang and Empyrean Fairy said in unison. Empyrean Fairy had been silent, but at this moment she finally opened her mouth. Lu Wuxin spent a lot of effort to capture the witches. What is his purpose? Tang Zhang also had the same question. However, Qiyu knew a lot about him, but he did not know much about Qiyu. At least, this time he could not guess Qiyu's motive. Since it was Lu Wuxin who led the team to attack, they were naturally well prepared. Although the witches were strong, compared with the returning elites of the Demon Clan, they were still a little inferior. Not to mention, the enemy had Lu Wuxin, a master in charge. Where's the Thundercloud Beast? Tang Zhang asked. The Thundercloud Beast was very strong. It was specially left to protect the island. Did the Thundercloud Beast not play any role? The Thundercloud Beast fought desperately, but the enemy was too strong. In the end, the Thundercloud Beast was seriously injured and fell into a coma. Where is it? Hearing that the Thundercloud Beast was not dead, Tang Zhang quickly asked. In a cave. I tried my best to save its life. Gue Qiansui said. Gue Qiansui's strength was not shallow, and his vitality was tenacious. Perhaps, in the end, Lu Wuxin also found that there was no way to kill him immediately. Tang Zhang's anger towards Gue Qiansui also calmed down. He did not sit idly by, but he really did not have the strength to do so. Let's go find the Thundercloud Beast. Tang Zhang made a prompt decision. The Thundercloud Beast was seriously injured, so it was more important to heal it first. Yi Dingdang stayed behind to accompany Wu, while the others and Tang Zhang went to a hidden cave. Sure enough, they saw the Thundercloud Beast lying on the ground, dying. Thundercloud Beast. Tang Zhang rushed forward and hugged it. The Thundercloud Beast slowly opened its eyes and said, Master, you came. I did not protect them well. Don't talk. You tried your best. Your injuries are very serious. Tang Zhang's heart tightened. The Thundercloud Beast's injuries were more serious than he expected. I won't die for the time being. The Thundercloud Beast said weakly. Tang Zhang hugged the Thundercloud Beast and looked left and right. It was a tragic sight. He made a decision in his heart. Gue Qiansui turned into an island and drifted on the sea was not safe. In the future, he could not put them on an island. This was putting his own people under the eyes of the enemy as live targets. He thought too simply before, which led to this tragic ending. He would never make the same mistake twice. Gue Qiansui, you leave with us. There is no need for this island to exist. Tang Zhang said in a deep voice. Gue Qiansui said in fear and trepidation, Master, this is all because of my incompetence. Please punish me. It's not your fault. You did your best. From now on, we will gather together. We can't give the enemy a chance to take advantage of us. Empyrean Fairy looked at Tang Zhang's firm eyes and secretly sighed. This matter could not be said to be a small blow to him. The demon race committed such a crime. She was afraid that they would suffer the consequences. Tang Zhang was a very persistent person. He was also a person who clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred. Because of him, the witch race was annihilated. How would he explain it to Wu Junshan in the future? Therefore, the anger and hatred in his heart were increasing day by day. It was hard to imagine. You can rest assured that we will fight side by side with you. We will ruthlessly attack the demon race's arrogance. Empyrean Fairy comforted. Tang Zheng looked at her and nodded heavily, saying, "Thank you. But we can't guess the demon race's motive. They have spent so much effort. Their motive is certainly not simple. We don't know what they are planning." Empyrean Fairy sighed in annoyance. Tang Zheng was moved and asked, "Gue Qiansui, is it true that none of the witches died?" "Yes, none of the witches died. They just took them away. Some who resisted strongly were only injured. They clearly had the opportunity to kill them, but in the end, the demon race did not do so." Gue Qiansui was very puzzled. But he could not figure out the mystery. Tang Zheng and Empyrean Fairy looked at each other. A huge question mark appeared in their minds. The demon race did not kill the witches. It meant that the witches were still useful. The witches were the origin of the ancient Jiuli tribe. It was equivalent to the origin of the demon race. Although they were declining now, their status was not ordinary. Qi Yu ruled the witches. At the end of his life, he even sealed the witches in the 100,000 mountains. What was the purpose of this painstaking effort? Was it just to protect the witches? Qi Yu killed people like flax. Would he be so kind? Tang Zheng did not think so. Qi Yu must have another purpose. But for a moment, Tang Zheng could not figure it out. You don't have to guess. Qi Yu has always been cunning. Like the Yellow Emperor, he is not easy to deal with. If you fight with him, you can't win if you don't have a few tricks up your sleeve. The inner demon suddenly said. Chapter 1302. There was a mistake in the previous chapter. It was Qi Yu's men who kidnapped the Wu tribe, not Lu Wuxin. Here, I'll correct it. The inner demon snorted and said, "How can I not see through Qi Yu's motives? Although he is cunning, I have been fighting with him for so many years. I can guess what he is up to when he makes the slightest move." Tang Zheng was moved and asked impatiently, "Then what do you think Qi Yu wants to do this time? Do you remember what Mo Xie said to you?" The inner demons asked. Tang Zheng was suspicious. He raised his eyebrows and asked, "What?" Qi Yu must have a backup plan. Mo Xie's vision is very accurate. Qi Yu must have a backup plan. A crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. This is his style. Otherwise, why would he be able to make a comeback after tens of thousands of years after his defeat in the Battle of Zhuolu? The inner demon said proudly. Tang Zheng nodded in realization. The inner demons was right. Qi Yu was a crafty rabbit with 3 burrows. No one could compare to his ability to have a backup plan. What does Mo Xie's words have to do with the disappearance of the witch tribe? Tang Zheng was still confused. Stupid, you can't even guess it. The witch tribe is Qi Yu's backup plan. The inner demon sighed. What? Tang Zheng let out a loud cry and almost jumped up from the ground. No matter how much he thought about it, he did not expect this at all. Because this was truly too inconceivable. If it wasn't for the fact that it came from the mouth of the inner demon, Tang Zheng would have thought that the other party was spouting nonsense. When the others saw Tang Zheng's reaction, they quickly asked what was wrong. Tang Zheng shook his head and continued to communicate with the inner demons. Although you have taken the Wu tribe for your own use, you don't understand the Wu tribe at all. The Wu tribe is the origin of the Jiuli tribe, and it is one of the oldest tribes. Its mysteriousness is far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Back then, when Qi Yu was defeated and was about to die, why did you not care about the lives of other people and specially imprison the shamans so that the bloodline of the shamans could be passed down? He was not being merciful or acting on a whim. Tang Zheng pondered as he listened. He had to admit that the inner demons were very meticulous in their deductions. Chi-Yu might really have other plans. The continuation of the sorcerer tribe was one of Chi-Yu's chess pieces. However, Chi-Yu did not expect that there would be a change tens of thousands of years later, allowing Tang Zheng to take the sorcerer tribe under his command. The witch tribe was the earliest race to live in the wildlands. That's why I speculated that the disappearance of the witch tribe had something to do with Chi-Yu's backup plan, the inner demons continued. Do you believe me now? Tang Zheng remained silent. In fact, he was skeptical, but the balance had already tipped in the direction of trust. The inner demons had already guessed Tang Zheng's thoughts. He laughed and said, "Let's wait and see. You can see whether my deduction is right or wrong." Obviously, the inner demons were very confident in their deduction. Seeing Tang Zheng's uncertain expression, the Empyrean fairy had an idea and asked curiously, "Did you find something?" "Maybe, the disappearance of the witch tribe has something to do with Chi-Yu's backup plan about the wildlands," Tang Zheng said after some consideration. The Empyrean fairy was shocked and asked in horror, "Really?" "Most likely." Tang Zheng nodded. The Empyrean fairy fell into silence, thinking about the validity of this information. Tang Zheng did not hide anything and told her about the origin of the witch tribe and Chi-Yu's plan in the face of danger. The Empyrean fairy's doubtful eyes gradually became firm. She raised her head and looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes and said, "It seems that this possibility really can't be ruled out. Chi-Yu and the demon race are ruthless. If they really plan to use the witch tribe to reappear the wildlands, it definitely won't be a good idea. I'm afraid that the witch tribe will be doomed," Tang Zheng analyzed. Everyone could not help but think of the various ruthless methods of the demon race. Whether it was using the lives of the demon race to awaken the volcano in the Holy Land or using the mountain river blood sacrifice array to summon the demon race back, all these deeds were undoubtedly stained with blood and countless lives. It was very likely that they used a similar method to use the lives of the witch tribe to reappear the wildlands. This was just a guess, but it made everyone's mood instantly heavy, as if a huge stone was pressing down on them. "We must find Chi-Yu as soon as possible," Tang Zheng said without hesitation. "Let's go back first." The transmission array flashed and a group of people walked out. With a bang, the transmission array in the backyard of the villa was destroyed. Because the transmission array on the other side was also destroyed, Gue Qiansui returned to the villa with them. The others quickly surrounded them. When they saw Tang Zheng's gloomy face, as well as the witch tribe and the martial race's painful appearance, everyone's heart tightened. What happened? Tian Chanzi had an ominous premonition, especially when he saw Gue Qiansui and the dying thundercloud beast, so he couldn't wait to ask. Before Tang Zheng could answer, a person rushed out of the villa and threw himself in front of Tang Zheng. With a plop, he knelt on the ground and shouted loudly, "Lord Envoy, I beg you to save the elders and the other clansmen." Seeing Yi Yuan kneeling on the ground, Tang Zheng felt as if he had been pricked. He immediately helped him up and said, "Your injuries are not completely healed yet, don't move around, lest your wounds rupture again." Yi Yuan kept shaking his head, and said, "My clansmen are still fighting with the enemy, how can I, Yi Yuan, be at ease and recuperate?" Suddenly, Yi Yuan saw Gue Qiansui and the thundercloud beast, his eyes bulged out, and he said involuntarily, "Lord Envoy, you have already been to the island? What about them?" Looking left and right, he did not see a single clansman who was fighting side by side with him. His face instantly turned pale, as if he was about to suffocate. His entire body trembled as he asked in fear, "Could it be they?" Tang Zheng firmly grabbed onto Yi Yuan's shoulder, and said, "Listen to me, your clansmen are not in danger for the time being, they were only captured by Chi-Yu. Chi-Yu took him away." Yi Yuan turned pale with fright. Chi-Yu was the ancestor of the witch clan, and this was something that the witch clan was very clear about. In fact, the clansmen had even gone through an intense discussion. After Chi-Yu revived, where would the witch clan go? In the end, the witch clan followed Tang Jing as usual. As for Chi Yu, that was already an old history. After tens of thousands of years of seclusion, the witch clan's inheritance of their own origins had been broken, causing the witch clan to not have much respect for the ancestor of Chi Yu. Actually, this was also a normal thing. Time was the most powerful weapon. It could change many things, and nothing would remain the same. I'm afraid that Chi Yu's original plan did not predict this either. Why did they capture my clansmen? Yi Yuan asked fiercely, his hatred for Chi Yu increasing greatly. We speculate that it has something to do with the Savage Wastelands plan. Tang Jing briefly explained the matter of the Savage Wasteland. Of course, he also explained the possible harm this matter could cause to the witch clan. Immediately, Yi Yuan's eyes were about to spit fire. He clenched his fists tightly, his joints crackling as he said, I'm going to save him. Yes. Don't worry, I will find Chi Yu's whereabouts and save them. Tang Zheng's words were very full. He was still in a mess, but he had made up his mind. The witch clan had always been loyal to him. If he pointed to the east, the witch clan would definitely not go west. This trust was rare and precious, how could he let it down? Envoy, the enemy. When the time comes, I want to go with you. Yi Yuan said. Let's go together. The eyes of the other witch clan members turned red, they forcefully suppressed the grief in their hearts and said resolutely. Alright, let's go together and fight with Chi Yu. Tang Zheng raised his hand, we will definitely save our clansmen. Save the clansmen. The witch clan members were greatly encouraged, they all raised their arms, the crowd was filled with anger, and shouted loudly. Li Xiaotian. Suddenly, Tang Jing shouted. Here. Li Xiaotian took a step forward with a stern expression. Tang Jing stared at her without blinking, and said in a deep voice, use Li Palace, Yan family, and any other power that can be used to search for the whereabouts of the witch clan and Chi Yu. Chi Yu has kidnapped so many people, I don't believe that he won't reveal any clues. Yes, sir. Li Xiaotian straightened his body, and without saying a word, he turned around and left the villa to carry out this difficult mission. Yi Yuan and the other witch clan members all looked at Li Xiaotian's back, full of anticipation. Don't worry, we are also very powerful. We have many eyes and ears, so we will definitely find some clues. Tang Jing comforted. The witch clan members all nodded their heads, looking at Tang Jing with eyes full of trust. From this moment onwards, those who paid attention would definitely notice that the atmosphere in the capital had instantly changed. There were many more people in the streets and alleys. The same situation occurred all over the country. Whether it was the Li Palace or the Yan family, their forces and eyes were spread throughout the entire country. Once they started to operate, their influence was self-evident. When the others saw such a large-scale operation, they could not guess the reason, and no one dared to interfere. This was because this operation was filled with anger and killing intent. A smart person would know with a single glance that hiding far away was the most important thing. This operation attracted the attention of all parties. The authorities and the Azure Dragon Palace were the first to notice it. Both sides sent out spies to find out what Tang Jing was up to. In the end, they found out that Tang Jing was actually looking for the whereabouts of the demon clan and Chi Yu. Both sides became curious. Both sides were not easy to deal with. They both sent out spies and used all their strength to search for the whereabouts of the demon clan. All of this investigation was done in an orderly manner. With the help of all sorts of high technology, the progress was very fast. At the same time, Tang Zheng healed the injuries of the thundercloud beast and Gui Qian's Wei. After that, he locked himself in his room alone. Everyone else knew that the great battle was coming. He was trying to use the last bit of time to increase his strength as much as possible. The others also started to move. All of them went into seclusion to increase their cultivation and prepare for the upcoming great battle. In the villa, the air was filled with a murderous aura, emitting an aura that prevented strangers from entering. In the Shumi world. Four symbols venerable. Tang Zheng called out, but the four symbols venerable did not react at all. During the great battle of Mount Buzhou, the four symbols venerable had been tampered with by the Saint King and turned into a statue that did not move at all. The telepathic connection between Tang Zheng and the four symbols venerable was also completely cut off. No matter how he called out, the four symbols venerable did not move. Chapter 1303. Despite the calls, the four symbols venerable remained motionless, no different from an ordinary stone statue. Looking up at the four symbols venerable's tall figure, Tang Zheng let out a long sigh, recalling the scene of the battle at Mount Buzhou. Saint King had turned the four symbols venerable into such a state during the battle, so he must have hit the back door of the four symbols venerable. Then where exactly was this back door? Tang Zheng looked left and right. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and exclaimed, "Oh right, I remember that when Saint King flew to the back of the four symbols venerable's head, the four symbols venerable immediately became like this. Could it be that the back door is at the back of the head?" With a tap of his toes, he soared into the air and landed on the four symbols venerable's shoulder, concentrating on the back of the head. He could not find any clues. He was unwilling to give up. How could he let go of such a small clue that he had finally found? He reached out his hand and felt around the back of the head. He was certain that the back door must be at this place. Crack! When his finger brushed past a place, a crisp sound rang out. He was overjoyed and hurriedly looked over. A small door slowly opened. He had never noticed that there was a small door at the back of the four symbols venerable's head. He could not help but be stunned. Finally, his gaze gradually turned solemn as he muttered to himself, "Chiyu never told me that the four symbols venerable had such a back door." Humph, as expected of a sly old fox. He concentrated on looking inside the small door, but could not see anything except endless darkness. He did not give up. With a snap of his fingers, purple true fire emerged from his fingertips, attempting to illuminate everything inside the door. However, the light of the true fire could not penetrate the darkness. It was as if there was an invisible force binding the light of the true fire. This, Tang Zheng was shocked. Even light could not penetrate the door. The inside of the door was too deep and unpredictable. This is abnormal. There must be something fishy. Tang Zheng stared at the door with a burning gaze. It was too small for a person to squeeze in. He hesitated for a moment, but still reached out his hand. He did not feel anything inside the door. It was an empty space. He withdrew his hand in disappointment. Was he going to give up just like that? The four symbols venerable was of great use to him, and he was also the guardian of the shaman tribe. If he was crippled just like that, he would not be able to explain it to the shaman tribe. Never give up. He clenched his teeth and stared at the door. The deep darkness seemed to want to suck him in. Suddenly, a ray of light flashed through his mind like lightning, and he subconsciously blurted out, "The primal chaos Vidra spell is the only sacred art that the witch clan cultivates, and has been passed down since ancient times. The other sacred arts have all been buried in the long river of history, so why is it that only the primal chaos Vidra spell has been passed down?" This question was like a stepping stone to the door, causing his eyes to gradually shine. He pondered for a while, then extended his hand again. This time, he activated the primal chaos Vidra spell, and his arm glowed with a metallic luster. His primal chaos Vidra spell had already been cultivated to the great perfection realm, which was the indestructible body. Therefore, after circulating the primal chaos Vidra spell, he once again boldly extended his hand through the small door. Whoosh! A powerful force wrapped around his hand, and a huge suction force enveloped him in an instant. Before he could react, he cried out in alarm and started to spin rapidly. Like a spinning top, he was sucked into the small door. However, he had no way of passing through such a small door. However, the huge suction force firmly held onto him, causing his body to sink into the door bit by bit. Crack, crack. His bones rubbed against each other, producing an ear-piercing sound. He let out a heart-wrenching scream, as if his body was about to be torn apart. The primal chaos Vidra spell immediately activated, resisting the tearing force and the pressure of the door. In the end, his body actually shrank by several times. With a puff, he passed through the small door and entered the pitch-black space. If my primal chaos Vidra spell had not been cultivated to the indestructible realm, then I would have definitely been crushed to pieces. He patted his chest with lingering fear. Ouch! He couldn't help but let out a blood-curdling scream. Although the indestructible body had saved his life, he was still injured. All the bones in his body were squeezed out of shape, as if they were about to fall apart. He took a deep breath and hurriedly circulated his genuine chi along his meridians, slowly nourishing his muscles and bones, causing them to return to their original position. At his level of cultivation, this kind of injury was not enough to take his life. After some treatment, it would not be a big problem. This was just like how the 100 Faces Star-Lord had lost a leg in the great battle of the island nation, but after a period of recuperation, he had grown another leg. It was not impossible for a cultivator to regenerate a broken leg. Especially since the 100 Faces Star-Lord was good at changing. He could even change into tall, short, fat, and thin people, so it was not difficult for him to recover his broken leg. Not long after, he finished healing his injuries and stared at the pitch-black space with wide eyes. I'm afraid this is like Shumi World, another space. Only the primal chaos Vidra spell is the key to opening this space. Of course, if the primal chaos Vidra spell had not been cultivated to the indestructible realm, there was no way to safely pass through that door. This condition is really harsh, I wonder who came up with it. Tang Jing muttered to himself, his heart filled with questions. The Four Symbols Venerable One had once obeyed Chi Yu's orders, and was Chi Yu's subordinate. Then, Chi Yu definitely knew about this door, and Saint King could not wait to take back the Four Symbols Venerable One. Could it be that the Four Symbols Venerable One had some great use? Although the Four Symbols Venerable One was powerful, Chi Yu had a lot of elites under his command. Why would Saint King do everything he could to take back the Four Symbols Venerable One? The answer might be in this place. Tang Zheng raised his eyes and looked ahead. Although he could not see his fingers, he chose a direction and walked forward. His speed was very fast, and he was not worried about any traps. This space seemed to have no end, and he advanced for a long time without finding anything. Four Symbols Venerable One. Tang Zheng stopped and roared, trying to communicate with the Four Symbols Venerable One again. Master. A voice suddenly rang out. This voice was very weak, but it was undoubtedly the voice of the Four Symbols Venerable One. This voice had resounded in Tang Zheng's mind countless times, so he definitely did not mishear it. He was overjoyed. He never thought that he would actually get a response to his call. In the past, this voice had only resounded in his mind, but now, this voice was resounding in his ears. Four Symbols Venerable One, how can I save you? Tang Jing hurriedly asked. I'm trapped in the endless darkness. I can't go back, the Four Symbols Venerable said weakly. Do you know you have a back door? I don't. Tang Zheng was suddenly stunned. Even the Four Symbols Venerable did not know about the back door. It was too strange. Could it be that this was a back door set up by Chi Yu that even the Four Symbols Venerable One did not know? This was indeed a possibility. No matter what the reason was, the most important thing was to save the Four Symbols Venerable One. The endless darkness. Could it be the darkness around me? Tang Zheng looked around and asked in a low voice. Yes. You and I are actually very close, but I can't touch you, nor can I return to my own body. I've been banished to this endless darkness. Don't worry, I'll save you. Thank you, Master. Tang Jing spoke big words, but he was actually worried. How could he save the Four Symbols Venerable One when he was in the dark? I've been drifting here for a long time, and I'm getting weaker and weaker. I'm worried that if this goes on, I'll definitely vanish into thin air, the Four Symbols Venerable said weakly. Tang Zhang's heart trembled. The Four Symbols Venerable One was a sacred artifact, so this voice was naturally the artifact spirit of the Four Symbols Venerable One. Once the artifact spirit left the sacred artifact, it was equivalent to a person's soul leaving their body, becoming a wandering ghost. The more time passed, the more the artifact spirit would be exhausted. In the end, it would be difficult for the artifact spirit to return to the sacred artifact. Even if it did, the sacred artifact would probably be affected and its power would decrease. Thinking of this, Tang Zheng's heart could not help but tense up. He racked his brains. Although the Four Symbols Venerable One did not know about the back door, this back door was obviously related to the Witch Clan's chaotic Vidra spell. Why did Chi Yu set up a back door, set the key to the chaotic Vidra spell, and then hand it over to the Witch Clan? No, I might have been wrong. This back door might not have been set up by Chi Yu. Perhaps it was set up by someone else. Four Symbols Venerable One, who created you? Tang Jing hurriedly asked. I don't know, but I've lived for a long time. I don't remember how long it has been. The Four Symbols Venerable One said in a daze. Then do you know Chi Yu? Yes, I once fought for him. He was one of my former masters. What, one of the masters? Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with a bright light, and he quickly and accurately grasped onto a key point. Wrong, all wrong. He shouted from the bottom of his heart. You weren't created by Chi Yu. No. Hearing this definite answer, Tang Jing also understood in his heart that everything he had always known had been overturned. The origins of the Four Symbols Venerable One were far more complicated than he had imagined. It was not created by Chi Yu, but an even more ancient existence. This could explain why the key to the back door of the Four Symbols Venerable One was the chaotic Vidra spell. It was because this was not a back door that Chi Yu had set up, but one that already existed. Perhaps, this could also explain why Chi Yu had only protected the Witch Clan when he was in danger, and did not care about the lives of the others. The Four Symbols Venerable One was the guardian of the Witch Clan, and had a deep relationship with the Witch Clan. There was probably a mysterious connection between the two that Tang Jing did not know about. Chi Yu had schemed to kidnap the Witch Clan and also wanted to snatch away the Four Symbols Venerable One. From the looks of it, his intentions were too obvious. He wanted to take both for himself. Other than the plan for the savage wasteland, he might have other plans. Chi Yu, oh Chi Yu, you are truly a cunning old fox. Tang Jing sighed. For Symbols Venerable One, since you know that Chi Yu was once your master, why did you follow me and not him? My current master is you. I only listen to your orders. The Four Symbols Venerable One replied without hesitation. This made Tang Jing secretly happy. After experiencing the betrayal of the War Soul Sword and the matter of it being taken away, Tang Jing became even more vigilant. Chi Yu was the best at burying thunder and leaving behind a backup plan. If he was not careful, he would fall into the other party's trap. Chapter 1304. Tang Jing was filled with suspicion, he was bewildered, and asked, if Chi Yu orders you to deal with me, then what will you do? Master, I only listen to your orders. The Four Symbols Venerable repeated and emphasized. Tang Jing became silent, his mind raced, and in the end, he made a decision, saying, since the chaotic Vidra spell is the key, there is no other way, let's see if the chaotic Vidra spell can create another miracle. Tang Jing once again activated the chaotic Vidra spell, his entire body glowing with a golden light, like a golden man overflowing with light. The golden light shone brightly, but it was unable to illuminate the surroundings. Instead, the golden light was engulfed by the darkness. The chaotic Vidra spell is not working. Tang Zheng sighed in disappointment. The golden light gradually dissipated, and the darkness returned, enveloping him. However, he still did not give up. This space was related to the witch clan, so he could only experiment with abilities related to the witch clan or the demon clan. And he just so happened to be good at another demon clan's ability. Sky swallowing method. With a thought, he activated the sky swallowing method, and a black hole appeared in his hand. It was even deeper than the surrounding darkness, as if the surrounding darkness was about to be devoured by the black hole. Whoosh whoosh. A strong suction force gushed out, and a strong wind blew, causing the surrounding air to quickly enter the black hole. This was a normal phenomenon, so Tang Zheng was not surprised at all. However, the next scene caused his heartstrings to tremble, and he couldn't help but open his mouth wide. The surrounding darkness was actually swallowed by the black hole. Although both sides were incomparably dark and hard to see with the naked eye, Tang Zheng could still feel it. Did it work? Tang Zheng muttered to himself with a trembling voice. No one answered him. Only the sound of the wind could be heard. For Symbols Venerable, are you feeling better? Tang Zheng asked loudly. Master, what are you doing? It seems like the power binding me has weakened. The four Symbols Venerable shouted in surprise. It really worked. Tang Zheng almost jumped up. It was truly a pleasant surprise. The chaotic Vidra spell did not work, but the sky swallowing method actually worked. The sky swallowing method has always been disliked by the demon clan, and was considered useless because the sky swallowing method had lost its core. Then who created the sky swallowing method? And when was it created? No one knew the answer to this question. At this moment, the sky devouring technique had taken effect, causing Tang Zheng to involuntarily think, could it be that the sky devouring technique was also related to the witch tribe, or even that the sky devouring technique was created by a certain expert in the witch tribe? Furthermore, this space was also related to the sky devouring technique, which was why the sky devouring technique was able to take effect. Tang Zheng was shocked by his own deduction, but he also felt that it was very interesting, which made him excited. He shook his head, tossed aside these miscellaneous thoughts, and immersed himself in the sky swallowing technique. Immediately, the power of the sky swallowing technique increased greatly. The two black holes merged into one, becoming a huge black hole. The wind howled, and the surrounding darkness was quickly sucked into the black hole. A trace of haziness appeared in the surroundings. There was nothing in the surroundings, but it wasn't that dark anymore, turning into a dusky haze. Master, the binding force is getting weaker and weaker. I can feel a weak connection with my body. The four Symbols warrior cheered. Tang Zheng was greatly encouraged and beamed with joy. He took a deep breath and used all his power to activate the sky swallowing technique. The dusky surroundings turned white, and in the end, it even became transparent. At the same time, Tang Zheng clearly sensed that the suction force of the black hole had increased greatly. The endless darkness that was being absorbed had increased the power of the sky devouring technique. This was really a pleasant surprise, causing Tang Zheng to absorb everything even more hungrily. Crack! A crisp cracking sound was heard. Tang Zheng was shocked. He looked around and realized that cracks had appeared in the space in all directions. These cracks were like spider webs, instantly covering all the space. The cracking sounds became more and more frequent, rising and falling one after another. Finally, with a bang, the space was fragmented and trembling violently. Ah! Tang Zheng couldn't help but cry out in alarm, because he was rapidly falling down, as if he was falling into an endless abyss. Bang! His feet finally landed on the ground. He quickly steadied his mind and looked up, only to find that for some reason, he had actually come out of the four Symbols Venerable's body and returned to Sumer world. He stood in front of the four symbols venerable and looked up at this colossal creature. All of this was extremely mysterious, causing his mind to surge. He raised his head and stared at his palm without blinking. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two black holes suddenly appeared, and the sky-devouring technique automatically operated. Boom! A gust of wind rose from the ground, and Sumera world actually trembled violently, as if the space was about to shatter. Ah! Tang Zheng was shocked and quickly stopped the technique. The black holes disappeared, and Sumera world stabilized again. He looked at his hands in disbelief and muttered to himself, the sky-devouring technique actually broke through again, reaching the sea-shifting realm. The mountain-shifting realm was already amazing, especially since Tang Zheng had already practiced it. When he moved Mount Buzhou, he was also shocked. The sea-shifting realm was a level higher, and could even threaten the space of Sumera world. Its power was so strong that it made people raise their eyebrows. I'm afraid that after I absorbed the mysterious space behind the four symbols warrior's head, the sky-devouring technique's power increased greatly. Immediately, he was even more certain that the sky-devouring technique was related to the shaman tribe. Master! The four symbols warrior's voice sounded in his mind, attracting his attention. He raised his head and saw that the four symbols warrior was also looking down. Their eyes met, and the four symbols warrior's originally lifeless stone eyes were covered with a layer of mysterious luster, as if they were lifelike eyeballs. You're fine? Tang Zheng asked in surprise. Yes, I've fused with my body again. Master, thank you. The four symbols warrior said with sincere gratitude. Tang Zheng stared and laughed loudly, ha ha ha, by accident, you can even succeed like this. This is truly a joyous occasion. Master, I have other gains. The four symbols warrior suddenly said. Gains? Tang Zheng stared blankly and looked at it with shining eyes. What gains? There has always been a seal on my body. When Master destroyed that space, my seal was also removed. The four symbols warrior said happily. The seal was removed. Tang Zheng was stunned, but he was ecstatic. Without a doubt, the four symbols warrior's power would definitely increase qualitatively after the seal was removed. The four symbols warrior seems to have become more talkative. Before, he didn't say anything for half a day, but now he actually said so much in one breath. Could this be a change brought about by the removal of the seal? Tang Zheng clicked his tongue in wonder. Who set up this seal? I don't know. Then what changes have you undergone now? Let me take a look first. I still don't fully understand. The four symbols warrior was like a little confused, causing Tang Zheng to laugh involuntarily. I finally understand. Not long after, the four symbols warrior shouted loudly. Tang Zheng's attention was immediately attracted. Master, look. The four symbols warrior shouted as if he was presenting a treasure. Tang Zheng opened his eyes wide and stared fixedly at the four symbols warrior. The four symbols warrior shrank rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, he was actually the size of a normal person. I can shrink. The four symbols warrior said. Tang Zheng nodded blankly, I already saw it. You can actually transform. He had always thought that the four symbols warrior could only take the form of a colossus. He didn't expect that he could change his size. This way, it would be much more convenient for the four symbols warrior to fight. In the past, because the four symbols warrior was too large, there were many narrow spaces where he couldn't be used. From now on, the four symbols warrior would be restricted by this restriction, and his range of use would greatly increase. Master, I can also do this. The four symbols warrior shouted again and walked towards Tang Zheng. Suddenly, the four symbols warrior turned left. The next scene caused Tang Zheng to cry out loudly. The four symbols venerable turned around, but there was still another 4 symbols venerable walking towards him. Clone. Tang Jing blurted out. As soon as he finished speaking, one of the clones turned right. In the end, when the 4 symbols warrior walked in front of Tang Jing, he split into 2, and then 2 more. The 4 symbols warrior split into 4, and became 4 symbols warrior. Tang Jing immediately thought of the 4 tall and mighty 4 symbols warrior standing in the square of the shaman tribe in the 100,000 mountains. The 4 symbols warrior was originally 4, but later they merged into 1, and their power increased greatly. From then on, they were almost never separated. This time, not only did the 4 symbols warrior shrink, but he could also create clones in this state. Most importantly, the strength of each clone was not reduced by much. This was a condition that the original gigantic 4 symbols warrior did not possess. In this way, he had 4 extremely powerful 4 symbols warrior. One could imagine how great of an advantage he would have when fighting against enemies in the future. Seeing that the 4 symbols warrior had stopped, Tang Jing asked curiously, "Is there anything else?" "No more." After a pause, the 4 symbols warrior added, "However, I feel that my strength can still become stronger in the future." Tang Jing raised his eyebrows, understanding the deeper meaning of this sentence. He asked, "You mean your strength can increase?" "Yes." The 4 nodded at the same time, as if they were one person, as if they were no different from real people. In the past, the 4 symbols warrior's strength was almost fixed. Other than when they merged into 1 and increased their strength, there was no change in their strength after that. However, the 4 symbols warrior could now increase his strength bit by bit. This change was undoubtedly the most valuable. This meant that the 4 symbols warrior's battle strength would become stronger in the future, and they would naturally be more helpful to Tang Jing. "For symbols warrior, you're really something." Tang Jing was overjoyed, and he praised loudly without holding back. The 4 symbols warrior was like a child who had been praised. Joy actually appeared on all 4 of their faces at the same time. Not only had he found the 4 symbols warrior during this seclusion, he had also caused the 4 symbols warrior to undergo tremendous changes. In addition, the heaven devouring technique had reached a new level, causing Tang Jing's strength to increase greatly. This was a double blessing. His eyes shone brightly as he gnashed his teeth. "Chiyu, demon, just you wait. What you've taken from me, I'll take back 100 times, 1,000 times over." Roar. Chapter 1305. Hearing this deafening roar, Tang Jing's eyelids twitched. His figure flashed as he charged in a certain direction. The 4 symbols venerables also chased after him without another word. Boom! With a loud bang, the ground of Sumera world shook as if there was an earthquake. Tang Jing cursed inwardly. In Sumera heaven, only the Azura could cause such a huge commotion. After returning from the Battle of Mount Buzhou, the Azura had been recuperating. The Fornax formation had caused the Azura to be heavily injured, losing a great deal of Yin Qi. The Yang Qi in particular was like a stubborn disease that had been plaguing the Azura. However, Tang Jing was quite at ease with the Azura and had only allowed him to recuperate without paying too much attention. At this moment, hearing such a huge commotion, he realized that he had underestimated the Azura's injuries. In a flash, Tang Jing and the 4 symbols venerables arrived at the area where the Azura was. With a boom, Sumera heaven shook a few more times. Tang Jing finally saw the Azura. The Azura was kneeling on the ground, his large fists pounding the ground again and again. This was the cause of the tremors. Seeing the Azura's appearance, there was no doubt that he was in great pain. This caused Tang Jing's mood to sink. "Azura!" Tang Jing cried out. The Azura suddenly raised his head, the expression in his eyes much weaker than before. There was no trace of his usual arrogance and insufferably arrogance. "What's wrong with you?" The Azura opened his mouth and let out another earth-shattering roar, saying intermittently, "Yang Qi has entered my body and is haunting me." It's been devouring my yin qi. What? The yang qi still hasn't been completely refined. Tang Zheng was shocked and blurted out this question. The Asura shook his large head, saying, "No, this yang qi is different from ordinary yang qi. This is the yang qi condensed by the fornax formation and is far more powerful than ordinary yang qi. It's like poison that has penetrated into every corner of my body. I have no place to absorb yin qi to increase my strength, so I can't suppress the yang qi at all and let it do whatever it wants." The Asura explained his situation intermittently, but it caused Tang Zheng to tremble with fear. He had never thought that the after-effects of the fornax formation would be so terrifying. Shura was entrusted to him by the Dizang of Goguryeo. Moreover, he was one of his most capable generals. If anything happened to him, he wouldn't be able to answer to the Dizang of Goguryeo. Moreover, he would also suffer heavy losses. When he thought of this, his heart felt like it was being squeezed, and his face was as heavy as water. "Master, this place is very dangerous. I will protect you." The four symbols venerable leaped in front of Tang Zheng, protecting him as he glared at Asura. That was indeed the case. The yang energy caused the Shura's evil aura to soar. He was like a ticking time bomb that could explode at any moment. No matter how powerful Tang Zheng was, there was still a large gap between him and Asura. The four symbols reverent wholeheartedly protected his master. He stood between the two without any regard for his own safety, preventing Tang Zheng from suffering an unpredictable danger. A touch of warmth flashed through Tang Zheng's heart. Without the seal, the four symbols venerable had indeed changed a lot. He was much more adorable. Seeing the four symbols venerable's reaction, the hostility in Asura's eyes increased greatly. He roared at the four symbols venerable, and violent yin energy swept over like a tornado, filling the sky with sinister winds. Break! The four symbols venerables formed a solid wall. With a stomp of their feet, they extended their palms and pushed forward. A vast and mighty force rushed out with an earth-shattering momentum. The two forces collided, erupting with deafening explosions that caused Sumra world to tremble incessantly. Seeing this, Tang Zheng hurriedly patted the four symbols venerable's shoulder and said, "I'm fine. Don't worry, Asura can't hurt me." He had the Ksitigarbha Sutra to protect him. No matter how violent Asura was, he couldn't hurt him. Thus, he walked past the four symbols venerable and arrived in front of Asura. Asura had transformed into a colossus. Even when kneeling on the ground, he was still much taller than Tang Zheng. When he stood in front of Asura, he was like a small child facing a towering mountain. He wasn't afraid at all. He pressed down with both hands and said, "Asura, don't be impatient. I'll solve your problem. What solution do you have?" Asura roared impatiently. The sinister winds blew past Tang Zheng's clothes, causing them to flap loudly. Tang Zheng was unmoved. His expression was resolute as he said, "Of course I have a solution. You control your emotions. Let's fight against that annoying yang energy together." However, Asura didn't listen to his advice. He roared again and again. Tang Zheng was helpless. He shook his head and sighed, "You have too much evil in your heart. You can't control your emotions at the critical moment. Then I'll lend you a hand." With that, his expression was solemn. Like a Buddha statue, he chanted the Ksitigarbha Sutra. Golden burning runes flew out from his mouth one after another. The golden Sanskrit characters flew to the top of Asura's head and circled around. Finally, the Sanskrit characters formed a golden circle that descended from the sky and landed on Asura's head. Asura was startled. His movements slowed down subconsciously. His expression became much stiffer. That violent yin energy instantly calmed down. Tang Zheng didn't stop. He chanted the Ksitigarbha Sutra over and over again. Before long, Asura's entire body was covered in golden Sanskrit characters. It was like a golden kasaya, solemn and dignified. It completely concealed the terrifying yin energy. Azura was no longer irritable. He was like a docile kitten. Tang Zhang's heart stirred. As his cultivation increased, the Ksitigarbha Sutra's power also increased day by day. Especially when fighting against Azura, the Ksitigarbha Sutra's power was increasing. He was deeply moved by Dizang of Goguryu's strength. He actually created such a powerful divine ability. Master, you're amazing. He's already been tamed. The four symbols' reverend was delighted as he praised loudly. The four symbols' reverend's originally stiff face became lively. It was as if the difference between him and a real person was becoming smaller and smaller. Tang Jing shook his head and sighed. He hasn't been tamed. Especially the yang energy in his body. It's still constantly devouring his yin energy. This is like a chronic illness. Unless we find an effective method, it'll be extremely difficult to cure him. The Ksitigarbha Sutra controlled Azura's emotions and also suppressed the yang energy. It reduced its power slightly, thus reducing Azura's pain. Azura raised his head once again. The madness in his eyes decreased sharply. He looked at Tang Jing with burning eyes and said, "You're treating the symptoms but not the root cause. The yang energy is still in my body and will erupt again in the future. How despicable. If I see demons again, I'll definitely cut them into 8 pieces. Not only their physical bodies, but also their souls. I'll make sure their souls scatter." Azura's ruthlessness increased greatly. If it weren't for the golden Sanskrit characters, he might have gone berserk again. "Azura, don't be anxious. We'll think of a solution together." Tang Jing comforted. "What solution do you have?" Azura asked impatiently. Tang Jing suddenly had an idea and said, "Didn't you just say that you couldn't absorb the yin energy, causing the yang energy to become more and more rampant? If you can absorb the yin energy, doesn't that mean you have a way to refine the yang energy?" Azura's eyes lit up. He stared at Tang Jing with burning eyes and said, "Perhaps we can give it a try." Azura wasn't sure, but treating a dead horse as a living one was not a bad idea. "All right, then you wait for a while. I'll go find a place where the yin energy gathers," Tang Jing said impatiently. Azura stared straight at Tang Jing. In the end, he nodded. "I'll wait for you." The golden Sanskrit characters didn't disappear. They suppressed Azura and also helped him suppress the yang energy, reducing his pain. "For symbols venerable, look after him." Tang Jing instructed the four symbols venerable. The four symbols venerable nodded and looked at Azura without fear. "Master, I'm here. Don't worry." Tang Jing squeezed out a smile and turned to leave Sumra world. When he returned to his room, he rushed out in a hurry and found Tian Chanzi. He shouted, "Tian Chanzi, I have something to discuss with you." Tian Chanzi was also cultivating. When he heard his voice, he slowly opened his eyes. His eyes flashed as he stood up and said indifferently, "How old are you? Why are you acting so rashly? What made you lose your composure like this?" "It's Azura." Tang Jing explained Azura's situation. Tian Chanzi's expression also became serious. "You're saying that the Fornax array left behind a residual effect in Azura's body, causing him to be plagued by yang energy?" "Yes, that's why I want to find a place where yin energy gathers and let Azura absorb it. Then, we'll see if he can refine the yang energy in his body." Tang Jing nodded and said in a low voice. Tian Chanzi was also very clear about Azura's importance. Especially at a time like this when a great war was about to break out, losing such a great general would definitely not be a good thing. "You're the most familiar with the surrounding areas of the capital. You must know where the yin energy gathers the most," Tang Jing said. Tian Chanzi nodded. "Of course, such a small matter can't stump me. Actually, you've been there before. It's the place where I nurtured Huang Xiang. Today, Huang Xiang is still cultivating there. That place has been a great battlefield since ancient times. After all, it's a checkpoint for the North to attack the Central Plains Empire. Who knows how many people have died there? The yin energy there is the densest, so it's definitely suitable for Azura. Tang Zheng suddenly realized. In a moment of panic, he had almost forgotten about this place. Speaking of Huang Xiang, the memories came flooding back like a tide. Huang Xiang was once Tian Chanzi's puppet. He was very strong, and was later gifted to his disciple Fang Shishir by Tian Chanzi. Fang Shishir wasn't used to having someone following her around at all times, so she simply sent Azura to this place where yin energy gathers and let him cultivate alone. Tang Zheng had almost forgotten about Huang Xiang. Huang Xiang is a puppet, so his cultivation speed is already very fast. After staying there for so long, I wonder how his cultivation has improved. Tian Chanzi sighed. Huang Xiang was equivalent to one of his creations, so of course he would care. Then you'll go with me this time, and bring Huang Xiang back while you're at it. Tang Zheng immediately made a decision. Whether or not Azura can recover will depend on this. Huang Xiang is already Shishir's puppet, so of course he has to go with you. Tian Chanzi said lightly, fighting for the opportunity for his disciple to interact with Tang Zheng. No problem. Tang Zheng replied without hesitation. Soon, the members of this operation gathered together. Apart from these three people, everyone else stayed at home. Chapter 1306. The cold wind howled, and the yin qi filled the sky. It was noon, and the sun was high in the sky, but it also made people feel a bone-chilling chill. In ancient times, this was a place that the military would fight for. It was a pass that one man could hold against 10,000 men, and it had experienced countless wars. However, no matter how strong the pass was, there was no way to truly resist foreign enemies. As long as one piled up human heads and lives, there would always be a way to break through the pass. Stepping on countless corpses, one could still cross the pass. History proved this point. Coming here again, Tang Zheng was even more emotional. After experiencing so many things and battles, his state of mind had undergone earth-shaking changes. Fang Shishir had once sent Huang Xiang here, so if it was her first time here, she would definitely be frightened by the yin qi. He held Tang Zheng's hand and said, "No wonder this place is not too far from the capital, but it has always been abandoned. If there was no yin qi, I'm afraid it would have been turned into a tourist attraction by the developers." Tian Chanzi laughed and said, "This is a very taboo place for the people of the capital. Absolutely no one dares to come here." Naturally, it led to this place being abandoned. Look at those weeds, they are taller than people. The few of them walked on the grass, and flew on the grass. Naturally, they were not affected by the harsh environment. They walked as if they were flying, and came to the deepest part of the pass. Although it was almost autumn, the power of the autumn tiger was still great, and the heat was unbearable. But when they set foot in the deepest part of the pass, a bone-chilling chill hit their hearts. The few of them quickly resisted and dissolved the bone-chilling chill. The yin qi here is increasing day by day. It is a bit stronger than the last time I was here. It is almost the same as the yin qi in the ghost realm. Tang Zheng sighed. Tian Chanzi nodded. The yin qi is like this, especially with so many ghosts here. As their cultivation deepens day by day, the yin qi in this place will naturally become stronger. Tang Zheng suddenly understood. Have you noticed that the periphery of this area has changed a lot since the last time I was here? What changes? Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi asked at the same time. The yin qi in the core area is too strong, and the plants can't grow, so it's bare. However, the plants in the periphery are very lush, and they seem to be growing crazily. These plants have been nourished by the yin qi for a long time, and have completely mutated. They are completely different from ordinary plants. The vegetation in the outermost area is obviously more than last time because this area is expanding outwards. Feng Shishu explained logically. Expand outward. Tian Chanzi and Tang Jing were both shocked. The two men were not as observant as Feng Shishu, so they did not notice this change. Feng Shishu nodded. Yes. The two of them looked at each other and realized the seriousness of the problem. Tang Jing said, Tian Chanzi, could it be that this area will continue to expand? In the end, are there more and more of these places? Tian Chanzi pondered for a long time and said, it's very likely. We can't let the human world become a place like the ghost realm. Tang Jing said resolutely. He had been to the ghost realm, so he was very clear about the dangers of this place. Not to mention ordinary people, even cultivators may not be able to survive here. Looking at Tang Zheng's decisive appearance, Feng Shishu's eyes were filled with love. She said, I support your decision. Tian Chanzi shrugged and spread out his hands. He said, then let's uproot this place. After a pause, Tian Chanzi said, don't you want Shura to absorb the yin qi? After absorbing all the yin qi in this place, and then get rid of those ghosts, wouldn't everything be fine? If it weren't for the lack of cultivators in these few hundred years, this place might not have developed like this. The righteous sects would have already organized powerful cultivators to destroy this place. Tang Jing nodded and said, then let us do this job. The several people entered the tiger's den and entered the hinterland. The sun in the sky had actually disappeared, and was instead shrouded by the yin qi that covered the sky, like a mass of gray clouds. Roar! Suddenly, a sharp roar sounded, and a gust of yin qi rushed out from the pass. More yin qi came from all directions, and swept out from the cracks in the stones. Be careful. Tang Jing reminded, and the three people simultaneously prepared for battle. Feng Shishu had experienced many battles and was no longer the ignorant person of the past. Her expression was serious, and she did not have the slightest bit of stage fright. Hua! A mysterious aura burst out from her body, bathing her in it, making her even more mysterious and beautiful. Golden jade. This was the protective treasure that Tang Jing gave her. After many days, golden jade was no longer the same as before. Tang Zheng's refining skills increased day by day, becoming more and more proficient. Almost all of the magic treasures around him had been refined by his hands, and from then on, they would shine with new power. He could now use the 9 revolving pill furnace to refine earth-level magic treasures, and the golden jade had risen from profound-level magic treasures to earth-level magic treasures. In the past, golden jade could only be used for defense, but now, golden jade could be used for attack. Both defense and attack were extremely rare. This was also because golden jade was originally a defensive magic treasure, which was why it could add an attack attribute. Of course, this also took Tang Jing a lot of effort to finally succeed. He wanted to replicate this effect on other magic treasures, but in the end, he destroyed several magic treasures, so he did not dare to try again. After all, although he could refine magic treasures, the materials for refining magic treasures were rare. If he wasted too much, he would not be able to afford it. Of course, because his refining skills had increased greatly, almost every witch had a magic treasure, causing the fighting strength of this team to increase greatly. Roar! Another soul-stirring roar sounded out, and 3 evil spirits flew over. Their faces were sinister, terrifying and disgusting, and they emitted a stench. Bang! 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 Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi stood in front of Feng Shishu, not giving her a chance to make a move, and attacked together. How could the 3 evil spirits be a match for them? They exploded with a loud bang, turning into balls of yin qi. However, the stench was really uncomfortable. Feng Shishu curled her lips in disappointment. She did not even have a chance to show off her skills. Just as this thought flashed through her mind, she noticed a stench coming from above her head, and a fishy wind descended from the sky. Her heartstrings trembled as she hurriedly looked up. A huge and ferocious ghost head opened its bloody mouth and bit down at her. Finally, one of them. She was overjoyed. She activated her power and shot out a ray of light from the golden jade, hitting the ghost head with a bang. Ew! The ghost head staggered back with a miserable cry. Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi heard the commotion behind them and were shocked. They turned around and saw the huge ghost head. The two of them wanted to attack. At this moment, a figure descended from the sky and landed on the ghost's head. He stepped on the ghost's head with one foot and quickly descended. Bang! The ghost head and the figure landed at the same time. The ghost head was fiercely stomped on the ground and exploded, turning into wisps of yin qi. The few of them finally saw each other clearly, and their eyes lit up at the same time. Fang Shishir beamed with joy and shouted loudly, "Huang Xiang." It turned out that this figure was actually the puppet Huang Xiang. He had been cultivating here all this time. When he sensed his master's arrival, he immediately rushed over to meet her. He did not expect to see the ghost head attacking Fang Shishir. As a puppet, he did not hesitate to launch a fatal attack on the ghost head when his master was attacked. "Master!" Huang Xiang stood in front of Fang Shishir, lowered his head, and shouted in a muffled voice. Fang Shishir looked at him with shining eyes. She was naturally very satisfied with her master's gift. However, Huang Xiang's entire body was covered with yin qi. It was almost impossible to bring him out casually to avoid unnecessary trouble. But this time, Huang Xiang's yin qi was even stronger. Standing next to him, one could feel waves of yin wind blowing, and there was a bone-piercing chill. Tang Zheng looked at him curiously, then asked Tian Chanzi, "Did his power increase again?" Tian Chanzi nodded complacently, "Of course, if I'm not wrong, his body's resistance to attacks is already very strong. I'm afraid he won't lose to you. I've already cultivated the chaotic Vidra spell to the great perfection indestructible realm, and you actually think that his body is the same as mine?" Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily, obviously not believing him. Tian Chanzi shrugged his shoulders and said, "All the cultivation techniques in the world have the same goal. It's not like there's only one kind of cultivation technique that can reach each realm. Moreover, he has no distractions and wholeheartedly cultivates a sacred art. He might be able to compare to you, who is half-hearted and cultivates various sacred arts. Moreover, I was the one who created him, so of course I have confidence." Tian Chanzi raised his head proudly, full of confidence. Tang Zheng did not argue with him. The stronger Huang Xiang was, the better he could protect Fang Shishir. He was also happy to see this scene. Suddenly, Huang Xiang's eyes burst out with a cold light. He passed by the three of them and rushed towards the depths of the pass. Roar! A few deafening roars rang out, and then roars rose and fell one after another, coming from all directions. Huang Xiang soared into the air and punched out. A powerful force rushed out, and a few evil spirits rushed out and collided with his fist. Boom! 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 The evil spirits were torn into pieces, but even more evil spirits rushed out and surrounded Huang Xiang in an instant. "Ah, will he be all right?" Seeing that, Fang Shishir asked in fear, wanting to rush forward to help. Tian Chanzi stopped her and said while beaming, "Didn't this brat doubt his strength? This is a good opportunity for you to see how these little ghosts are his match. You guys can watch the show." Fang Shishir was skeptical, but glanced at Tang Zheng. Seeing that his expression did not change and was not worried, she was relieved. A large group of evil spirits opened their bloody mouths and bit towards Huang Xiang. Huang Xiang's feet did not move, and he was not afraid at all. He waved his fist, and the shadows of his fist flew out, causing the evil spirits to explode immediately. Absolute kill. clean and efficient. But after all, 2 fists were no match for 4 legs. A few of the ghost heads found an opportunity and bit Huang Xiang's shoulder. Huang Xiang did not even frown as he grabbed the ghost head and pulled it off from his shoulder. He lowered his head and directly bit the ghost head. Gotcha! The ghost head was torn into pieces by him, exploding into a cloud of yin qi. Looking at his shoulder, it was as good as new. Chapter 1307. The few of them stared at Huang Xiang intently as he dealt with a few evil spirits neatly, almost effortlessly. Tian Chanzi boasted, "Tang Jing, what do you think? I didn't say anything wrong, did I?" Tang Jing nodded slightly. Huang Xiang's strength had indeed increased greatly. Now, his cultivation was equivalent to the first level of the semi-god realm. In just a few years, his improvement could be said to be like a rocket, far surpassing Fang Shishir and the others. Of course, the 2 sides could not be compared. One was a puppet without self-consciousness, the other was a living person. Another large number of evil spirits rushed over, as if there was no end to them. Huang Xiang wanted to go forward again. Tang Jing shouted, "Stop!" Huang Xiang hesitated slightly and turned his head to look at him. Huang Xiang did not care much about Tang Zhang's orders. He only listened to his master's orders. Fang Shishir was well aware, so she hurriedly shouted, "Stop for a moment." Huang Xiang finally stopped, raised his head, and looked at the evil spirits rushing over fiercely, but still suppressed the urge to fight in his heart. "Azura, come out!" Tang Jing roared and waved his arm. Sumera world flashed, and Azura flew out from it. A cold wind blew, and in an instant, the yin qi seemed to have become denser. When the few of them saw this scene, their hearts couldn't help but tremble. Azura was indeed not ordinary. As soon as he appeared, the limelight completely overshadowed the other evil spirits. "Azura, the sky is full of yin qi. Let's see how much you can absorb." Tang Jing pointed to the front and said. Azura's eyes lit up. Without saying a word, he opened his mouth and a low roar burst out from the depths of his throat. A gust of wind gradually condensed by his mouth. In the end, like a tornado, the yin qi between heaven and earth was sucked into his mouth. This absorption speed is really amazing. Fang Shishir smacked her lips and praised. Tang Jing knew Azura the best, and said indifferently, "His ability is more than that. Continue watching and you will know." Sure enough, a series of roars suddenly sounded. It turned out that the evil spirits that had not been sucked into the Azura's mouth were rising from the ground and flying into the Azura's mouth like the yin qi between heaven and earth. Ha ha ha. The Azura laughed complacently from his throat, making everyone's hair stand on end. Especially when they saw him swallow the evil spirits in large mouthfuls, everyone's hearts tightened. This scene was too shocking. If one didn't personally experience it, they wouldn't be able to describe it with words. There seems to be a trace of warmth. Tian Chanzi was very sensitive. He raised his head and looked at the sky. A halo of light appeared in the originally gray sky. This was a sign of the sudden decrease in yin qi, and the clouds parted to reveal the blue sky. The yin qi was too strong, and the sunlight couldn't reach it. Now, the yin qi was gradually thinning, and the sunlight was shining down, warming the area. Tang Zhang and Fang Shishir felt the same. They nodded at the same time and said with joy, "If Azura can absorb all the yin qi here, then there won't be any soil for the evil spirits to breed. This will solve a hidden problem." Tang Zhang looked at Azura with shining eyes and said with confidence, "Just watch. Maybe he really can do it." The aura between Azura's eyebrows unconsciously changed. The original joy was gradually replaced by madness, and the evil spirit on his body became heavier and heavier. Azura was influenced by the Ksitigarbha Sutra every day, and the evil spirit on his body had decreased with each passing day. He was completely different from before. But now the situation had greatly changed. The evil spirit on his body was gradually increasing, and there were signs of him recovering. If that was really the case, then Azura would be an unstable and dangerous factor. How could he help him? His plan would be ruined. Azura, what's wrong? Tang Jing jumped and arrived at Azura's side. The berserk yin chi was like a beast that had tasted blood, gathering towards him from all directions. At this moment, it was as if he had really returned to the ghost realm. The strength of the yin chi was almost the same as the ghost realm. He quickly operated the ancient clear heaven scroll, and the mighty true chi warmed his body. His 8 meridians and 5 viscera and 6 bowels were all nourished by the true chi, dispelling the yin chi from his pores. When the others saw this scene, whether it was Fang Shishir or Tian Chanzi, they could only retreat far away. They didn't have the 9 yang saint body, so they couldn't withstand the yin chi's damage. Hearing Tang Zheng's question, Azura's eyes flashed with pain, and a muffled voice sounded. This is the side effect of the yin chi and those evil spirits. They have too much evil spirit, and then they passed it to me. The Azura's reply caused Tang Jing to be shocked, as he only considered that the Azura could absorb enough yin chi without restraint. But he didn't think that the yin chi's evil spirit would be so strong that it would affect Azura and even make him go back. No, I absolutely can't let Azura become like before. Tang Jing made up his mind and asked, Azura, do you have a way to dissolve the evil spirit? I don't know a way. Azura shouted, looking a little flustered, I don't want to become like before. Azura didn't want to regress and become a mindless killing machine. Although he was now under Tang Zheng's control, he had his own consciousness, which was the most important thing. Tang Jing frowned. He didn't expect that even Azura himself couldn't do anything. This was really worrying. But he didn't sit still and wait for death. His mind was spinning and his brain was like a computer, quickly thinking of various feasible methods. That's right, this method might work. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and clapped his hands, overjoyed. When Azura heard this, it was as if he had grasped at a life-saving straw. He couldn't wait and urged, if you have a way, then hurry up and start. Tang Jing smiled faintly, opened his mouth, and started chanting. Ksitigarbha Sutra. All of them widened their curious eyes at the same time. Azura's eyes were filled with joy, and he praised, that's right, how could I forget about the Ksitigarbha Sutra? The Ksitigarbha Sutra can even suppress me, so why can't it suppress these small fries? Golden Sanskrit characters flew out of Tang Zheng's mouth and circled in the air. Those evil spirits that were swept over by the wind were all covered by the Sanskrit characters. Roar, roar, roar. The evil spirits struggled and roared, but the wind was too strong and they couldn't break free. Moreover, the golden Sanskrit characters were like indestructible walls, completely blocking them and leaving them nowhere to run. Not only that, even Azura was suppressed by the Ksitigarbha Sutra. He was absorbed into Azura's body and refined under the effect of the golden Sanskrit characters. The Shura didn't resist. Although it wasn't a good feeling, he forced himself to endure. The Ksitigarbha Sutra was his only chance to save himself. Seeing that the Ksitigarbha Sutra was effective, Tang Jing hurriedly instructed, Azura, focus on absorbing the yin chi. I'll take care of the evil spirits. Yes. Azura was greatly encouraged and roared. The wind became stronger and more terrifying, and more yin chi and evil spirits between heaven and earth were sucked in. In the end, before they could even scream, they were suppressed by the Ksitigarbha Sutra. The evil spirits in their bodies were dissolved and absorbed by Azura. Azura's body expanded little by little. This was the effect of the endless yin chi. With so much yin chi, not only did it offset the damage from the Forsaken Furnace formation, but the excess yin chi was also increasing his strength little by little. Second grade Mahayana. Azura's eyes shone with a terrifying light. This light was filled with a bone-chilling coldness, and he could not help but shout. Previously, in the process of the Ksitigarbha Sutra's enlightenment, his wisdom was unlocked, and his cultivation had also increased. He had broken through to first-grade Mahayana. At this moment, he had reached a higher level and directly reached second-grade Mahayana. It was very difficult for a top master in the Mahayana realm to increase his cultivation by a little. It was not easy for him to have such an opportunity. There was no doubt that this must be credited to Tangjing. Without the location he provided and the suppression of the Ksitigarbha Sutra, Asura would never have been able to reach this step so smoothly. The sun had already scattered from the sky, completely dispelling the coldness and becoming as warm as spring. It was no longer uncomfortable. The yin energy and ghosts in the area were completely absorbed by the Shura. Toward the end, the yin energy was getting better and better, and the yin energy in Huang Xiang's body was almost sucked away by the Shura. Huang Xiang instinctively sensed the danger and quickly retreated. In the end, under the joint protection of Tian Chanzi and Fang Shishir, he was spared. The golden Sanskrit light of the Ksitigarbha Sutra gradually weakened. As the yin qi completely disappeared, the Sanskrit also collapsed and disappeared. Shura finally shut his mouth. He licked his lips and took a deep breath, as if he hadn't had enough yet. This time he had gained so much that he had not completely digested it for a while. He lowered his head and looked at Tangjing with shining eyes. Suddenly, his body gradually shrank. After a while, he returned to the size of a real person. He squeezed out a smile at Tangjing. Asura actually smiled. This was really the first time the sun had risen from the west. Tangjing was greatly shocked. "Thank you," Asura said sincerely. Although he did not recognize Tangjing as his master, this sentence of gratitude was sincere. "This is also your own merit." Tangjing nodded and said with relief, "You have reached second-grade Mahayana. In the future when you fight with the enemy, your chances of winning have increased." Shura had always remembered the attack of the Fornax array formation. He still had lingering fears, but he was even more furious. He bitterly said, "Next time, if I see them again, I will definitely make them die very, very miserably." "Then, have you thought of a way to deal with the Fornax formation?" Tangjing still remembered the Fornax formation. It was specially used by Chiyu to deal with Asura. It was very difficult to break. Asura's expression froze. His lofty sentiments just now were like a bucket of cold water poured over his head. He hesitantly said, "There will always be a way." Tangjing sighed. He felt his body temperature gradually increase. He subconsciously looked up at the sky. The sun was shining brightly, as if it wanted to penetrate through his pores and reach his internal organs. "Ha!" Tangjing was suddenly startled. He opened his eyes wide in amazement and said loudly, "I have a way." Asura looked at Tangjing in disbelief. Even he, the person involved, had not thought of a way. What could Tangjing have thought of? Chapter 1308. The others also widened their eyes and looked at Tangjing curiously, wondering what good plan he had. "Asura, have you ever heard of the phrase, to give someone a taste of their own medicine?" Tangjing mysteriously asked. Shura shook his head blankly. Although he had opened his spiritual wisdom, his range of learning was too narrow. He had never heard of this phrase from others, so naturally he didn't know. "What do you mean? What does it have to do with your method?" Shura asked. "Of course it has something to do with it." Tangjing smiled. "Let me ask you, you're afraid of too much yang energy, right?" "Yes, it's not a secret." "Then why do you think we humans can't go to the ghost realm?" Tangjing asked again. Shura thought for a moment and said, "The ghost realm's yin energy is too heavy, it's not suitable for humans. When the yin energy enters the body, humans may die." See, you've already said the main point." Tangjing laughed. Shura scratched his head. still confused. However, Tian Chanzi's eyes became brighter and brighter, looking thoughtful, looking at Tang Jing with a bit of praise. You're afraid of yang energy, and for the same reason, humans are also afraid of yin energy. Qiyu used the heavenly furnace array to gather yang energy to deal with you. Then we can also use yin energy to deal with them. This is called a taste of your own medicine. Tang Jing explained carefully. Shura finally understood, so it's like this, using the same method to deal with the devil race. Don't tell me you have no way to gather yin energy to deal with them. Tang Jing asked with a smile. Shura looked at him as if he was looking down on him, proudly said, "Of course I have a way, and to deal with them, you don't just need a little yin energy, you need a lot of yin energy, so that you can really deal with them." Hee, I just happen to have that much yin energy. Shura's eyes flashed, and his body shone brightly, and then with a bang, he disappeared, replaced by a large mass of yin energy. This yin energy spread out, and the temperature dropped a few degrees in an instant, as if returning to the previous situation. Want? Read a book. Seeing that, Tang Jing laughed out loud. You were originally condensed from the yin qi, and the yin qi was your main body. Yes, when the time comes, we will use this to attack the demon clan. We will make the first move and not give the other party the chance to set up the heavenly furnace formation. The Shura recondensed and regained its body. It said proudly, when the time comes, I'll definitely let them know the taste of yin qi. As long as enough yin energy entered the body, unless it was someone with the 9 yang saint physique like Tang Jing or other peerless masters, it would definitely be enough to make him suffer. Having found a way to deal with the demon race, both sides were very excited. Tian Chanzi and Fang Shishir were also overjoyed. Only Huang Xiang remained indifferent. He stood beside Fang Shishir like a puppet and looked at Shura with a strange look in his eyes. Both of them had the same aura, yin energy. However, the Azura's yin energy grew even stronger. Huang Xiang instinctively regarded the Shura as a huge threat, so his eyes were filled with vigilance. Shura, your injuries have already healed. Return to Sumi heaven. Tang Jing said. The Shura did not hesitate. The outside world's yang energy was at its peak. Although it might not hurt him, it could reduce his yin energy. The Shura nodded and flew towards Sumi heaven. With a flash of light, he disappeared without a trace. The group went back the way they came. The further they went, the more intense and obvious the heat became. The originally lush plants that were as tall as a person had completely withered, listlessly hanging their heads. Tian Chanzi pointed at the plants and said, "These are all accumulated over a long period of time. They were nourished by the yin energy and crazily grew like this." The yin energy that the Shura absorbed was not only the heaven and earth's yin energy, but also the yin energy in these plants. The life force of the plants was also sucked away. Tang Jing said with emotion, "From now on, this place will no longer be a dangerous place. We can be considered to have gotten rid of evil for the people. Those mercenary real estate developers might set their sights on this place. After all, this place is not far from the capital, haha." Tian Chanzi joked. Tang Jing shrugged and said, "That would depend on others daring to buy. After all, who knows how many skeletons are buried here?" Throughout history, countless wars had caused this place to bleed and mountains of corpses to be everywhere. The number of corpses buried here was probably countless. The group joked for a while before returning home. When they returned home, the villa was quiet. Other than the patrolling guards, almost everyone was in closed-door cultivation. Just as they reached the door, a person blocked their path. Tang Jing said in surprise, "Grandfather, what's the matter?" Tang Jing understood the old man very well. Just by looking at his eyes, he knew that something was wrong. Tang Dehai hesitated for a moment and said, "Little Jing, did something happen? I think the atmosphere has changed recently. If there's anything, don't hide it from me." Now that I, your grandfather, am also a cultivator, I am strong. If something happens, don't be the only one to carry it. Don't tire your little shoulders out. Grandfather can share your worries. Tang Zheng was startled. He stared blankly at the old man. He never thought that he would actually take the initiative to volunteer. Regarding the disappearance of the witch clan, they had hidden it from the old man, afraid that he would be worried. Who would have thought that the old man would not be confused, and would actually be able to see through the clues? Grandfather, don't let your imagination run wild. It's nothing. Tang Zheng held the old man's hand intimately and comforted him. Tang Dahai was not easy to fool. He looked at Tang Zheng seriously and said, "You brat, don't try to lie to me. I brought you up since you were young. Do you think I can't tell what you're thinking? Hurry up and tell me, what's the matter?" Looking at the old man's serious expression, Tang Zheng knew that he couldn't hide it anymore. If he didn't tell him, it would make him even more worried. Grandfather, it's actually not a big deal. Some people from the witch clan have gone missing. We are currently mobilizing our forces to find them. Although Tang Zheng's emotions were heavy, he tried his best to express them in a relaxed tone, so as not to worsen the old man's worries. Unexpectedly, Tang Dahai did not buy it at all. He had his own set of criteria for judging. When he heard that the witch clan had gone missing, his expression changed drastically, and he exclaimed, "You still dare to say that it's not a big deal? The witch clan has gone missing, and if this is not a big deal, then what is? You must be extremely worried, but you deliberately used such a casual tone." Tang Zheng was exposed, and could only sigh helplessly. Then is elder brother witch also missing? Tang Dahai asked nervously. I haven't seen him in so long. The so-called elder brother of the witch clan was the elder of the witch clan. The two of them were not too far apart in age, and the elder of the witch clan was a little older. For this title, the witch clan elder had refused for a long time. In the end, he could not stand Tang Dahai's coaxing and pestering and had no choice but to accept it. In the past, every time the witch clan elder came to the villa, the two of them would drink a little wine together and have a long chat. Slowly, they became best friends. Yes. The elder is also missing. Tang Zheng could not bear it, but he still told the old man the truth. Tang Dahai's expression suddenly changed, his fists slowly clenched together, his eyes became firm, and he said, "I am going to save elder brother witch. This old bone has a place to be used again." Tang Dahai was no longer the him of the past, his spirit was completely gone, and his face was a few years younger. If someone familiar with him saw him in the past, they would definitely not dare to recognize him. Seeing the old man's indignant and agitated expression, Tang Zheng hurriedly pulled him back and said, "Grandfather, this kind of thing can be done by us juniors." "No." Tang Dahai raised his head, his resolute eyes not allowing a trace of refutation. "I used to listen to you, but I definitely can't listen to you on this matter. Elder brother witch clan is one of my few friends, and for a friend, this is what I should do. If I know that my old friend is in danger, but I don't care, it's none of my business. That would be heartless and unjust. Do you want me to be a heartless and unjust person when I'm old?" This was definitely a big hat. Even though Tang Zheng had too many concerns, he could only shake his head and smile bitterly, not daring to reject the old man's good intentions. "All right, grandfather, if there are any clues, I'll tell you, and then we'll go save them together." Tang Zheng compromised. Only then did Tang Dahai's expression lighten up, and he sighed earnestly. "I, your grandfather, am already old, and originally have no regrets. Other than your marriage, this is the only thing. If I leave behind any regrets, I won't be able to die in peace." Tang Zheng's heart tightened, and he hurriedly stopped him. "Grandfather, don't say inauspicious words, you will be fine, and the witch clan elder will be fine." Tang Dahai looked at him kindly and pretended to be relaxed. "Of course I believe you, we will definitely save them. Without this regret, you and I only have one regret left, and that is your marriage." If you were still in school, I wouldn't rush you. But look at yourself now, where did you go to school for a day? So, I have no choice but to put this matter on the agenda. Hearing this, Tang Jing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Just as he was about to give a perfunctory reply, he saw the old man grab his hand and take a few steps back, distancing himself from Fang Shishir. Tang Dahai glanced at Fang Shishir and said in a low voice, "Little Zheng, you are good at everything, but there is one thing that I didn't notice before, but now, the more I look at you, the more I see signs of it." Seeing his serious tone and serious words, Tang Zheng's head sank, and he hurriedly asked, "Grandfather, tell me, I'll listen." "You brat, you're too fickle." Tang Dahai endured for a moment, but in the end, he still said something that shocked the heavens and the earth. "Ugh!" Tang Zheng was startled, he was stunned on the spot, he was actually criticized by the old man for being too fickle, this. Although that was true, there was a reason for it. With Tian Chanzi, this fellow, incessantly egging him on, how could he, who was young and full of vigor, with the 9 yang saint body, endure? Moreover, these were not short-lived marriages, but real feelings, and they had gone through many trials together. Although it's open now, you can't mess around with men and women. I'm still waiting to see you get married and hold a grandson. Tang Dahai nagged. Hold a grandson. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes, this was thinking too far ahead. Just how old was he? 19, and next year he would be 20. Moreover, 20 years old was the time when one's pure yang energy would explode, and this was also a life and death situation, so how could he have the leisure to make a baby? Although he had relations with several girls, but his cultivation had reached such a stage that he could freely control his own essence, so there would be no problems with his life. Chapter 1309. A few days later, when everyone's power had increased to a certain level, the good news finally came back. After many inquiries and investigations, the demons finally revealed some clues. At the same time, the government and the Azure Dragon Palace also received the same news. Li Xiaotian stood straight in front of Tang Zheng and reported in a deep voice, "A few days ago, a cargo ship arrived at the port and brought down many wooden boxes. The workers accidentally broke one of the boxes, and one of them was a person." Tang Zheng nodded and signaled Li Xiaotian to continue. Although there is still human trafficking in the world, there is basically no human trafficking to our country. This was a well-known fact. Huaxia was the country with the largest population and abundant labor, so why would it need labor from other countries? Our spies discovered this unusual situation and reported it to us, so we came to inform you. Those boxes have been loaded onto a large truck and are driving on the highway. We don't know their destination yet. Yan Luyun added. The Yan family sent Yan Luyun to personally help Li Xiaotian, so he was also one of the insiders. Understood. The witch clansmen must be in that box. We have to save them as soon as possible. If we delay for a minute longer, they will suffer for a minute longer. Tang Zheng clenched his fists and said without hesitation. At the same time, he felt very fortunate. If not for Qi Yu's magic treasures disappearing in the river of time, he would only have a wisp of his soul left. Then Qi Yu would not have left any traces. Because Qi Yu did not have a high-grade storage magic treasure like Sumera Heaven this time, so he chose to use the cargo ship. Sumera Heaven was a heaven-grade storage magic treasure. Although for a peerless expert like Qi Yu, a heaven-grade magic treasure was not rare. But that was a defensive magic treasure, and definitely did not include storage magic treasures. Sumera Heaven was a storage magic treasure that Qin Shi Huang used the power of the country to create. It could store millions of soldiers and had once helped him launch a surprise attack on an enemy country and win. He was able to unify the world because of Sumera Heaven. This was also why it was called Sumera Heaven. Between Sumi and Sumi, the world was contained. Sumera's world was different from ordinary storage magic treasures in that it could not only store inanimate objects, but most importantly, it could store living beings. Both humans and animals could hide in them. Chiyu had similar Dharma treasures in the past, but after the Battle of Zhuolu, these Dharma treasures were destroyed in the long river of history. By chance and coincidence, the sword spirit and the battle soul sword fused together. After that, Chiyu had the chance to once again possess such a divine weapon. If he had a similar storage Dharma treasure, he would naturally be able to take all the sorcerer tribe members with him. There would be no need for him to go through so much trouble. Tang Jing rejoiced, but at the same time, he was scared. In addition, this information also showed that the sorcerer tribesmen were not dead. They were just imprisoned. If they did not reach their destination, their lives would not be in danger. Of course, Tang Jing wanted to follow the clues and see what plans the demon clan had, but he did not want the witch clan to take the risk. If he could not control the situation, the sorcerer tribesmen would be in danger. Tian Chanzi muttered to himself, "The enemy is in the light, and we are in the dark. Wouldn't it be better to follow the clues and find the lair of the demon clan?" Empyrean Fairy nodded, obviously agreeing with this method. Yi Yuan's face immediately revealed an anxious expression. He wanted to say something but hesitated, his nervousness and worry overflowed from his words. It was obvious that this method would definitely put the witch clan in an even more dangerous situation. Yi Yuan wanted to object, but in the end, he did not say it out loud. With the envoy present, he naturally had to obey the envoy unconditionally. Tang Jing did not continue listening. He suddenly waved his hand and said resolutely, "There's no need to say any more. I have already made up my mind. I will not sit by and watch the witch clan fall into danger and remain indifferent. As for following the clues, although this is good, it will cause the witch clan to face even more danger, so, I will not agree." The simple and decisive rejection forced Tian Chanzi and Empyrean Fairy's following words back. The strengths of the few of them were different, but without a doubt, Tang Zheng was already the core of the few of them. Even if his decision was different from the others, it would still be based on his decision. Yi Yuan looked at Tang Jing with tears of gratitude, and said excitedly, "Lord Envoy, thank you." There was no time to lose. A portion of the people formed the vanguard and immediately set off, while the rest of the troops followed closely behind. The vanguard included Tang Jing, Empyrean Fairy, Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan, while the rest of the troops were led by Tian Chanzi. Tang Dehai was also among them. The crowd did not dawdle any longer. Tang Jing summoned the somersault cloud, Li Xiaotian and Tang Jing jumped on it, and Tang Jing controlled the somersault cloud and flew straight up into the sky. Empyrean Fairy was flying in the air. Her speed was actually slightly slower than the somersault cloud. Empyrean Fairy was strong by nature, so she did not get on the somersault cloud and forcefully activated her power so that she would not fall behind. Tang Jing saw through the Empyrean Fairy's situation, and for her sake, he did not invite her onto the somersault cloud in the end. Li Xiaotian held a navigator in his hand, and on it was a red dot. It was the large truck that was transporting the box. "It's not far now." Li Xiaotian pointed ahead. "Somersault cloud, hurry up." Tang Jing gave the order. The somersault cloud whooshed, creating a sonic boom as it scraped through the air. Seeing that, Empyrean Fairy opened her mouth, but did not say a single word. She immediately focused on activating her power, trying to increase her speed. A large truck was speeding along the highway. It was the target vehicle of the witch clan. In the air, Li Xiaotian pointed at the car and said, "That's it." Tang Jing nodded, and reminded him, "Stand firm." Whiz! The somersault cloud quickly descended, flying towards the big truck. The somersault cloud quietly stopped on the roof of the big truck. Empyrean Fairy was a step slower, and also landed on the roof of the truck. The few of them had grave expressions on their faces. Yi Yuan could not wait to punch open the roof of the carriage and save his clansmen. "Wait!" Tang Jing extended his hand and stopped Yi Yuan. "The demon clan is full of tricks, especially Chiyu. who is extremely cunning, and will do anything. If there is something fishy going on down here and we break it open rashly, I'm afraid there will be danger. Then what should we do? Yi Yuan asked anxiously. Tang Jing muttered to himself, since the car can't run away from here, let's go to the driver's seat first and see who is the one escorting the carriage. Tang Jing released his consciousness, but did not sense Qi Yu's aura. If Qi Yu was here, he would have discovered them long ago. The few of them looked at each other and did not object. They quickly rushed towards the front of the car, and in the blink of an eye, they arrived at the top of the car. I'll go down first. Tang Jing still did not give in, and took the lead to attack. His figure flashed, and he flipped through the window at the bottom. Immediately, the sound of intense fighting came from inside the carriage. The big truck was like a drunkard, swaying left and right, dancing on the highway in a square dance, which was extremely dangerous. The cars behind them all braked, almost crashing into them. Seeing that the truck was about to flip over, suddenly, the sounds of fighting disappeared. Tang Jing growled, and finally stopped the truck from flipping over at the critical moment. With a series of muffled bangs, a long row of wheels fell from the air and fiercely crashed into the road, stopping. Who is it? Suddenly, a few people rushed out of the carriage and jumped onto the roof of the carriage. They confronted the few of them and scolded them loudly without any trace of politeness. There were only 3 people on the roof of the car, Empyrean Fairy, Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan. Seeing the enemy rush out, their eyes turned cold as they locked onto each other. They clicked their tongues and said, "Shrimp soldiers and crab generals, call Qi Yu out, don't be a coward. How dare you call your ancestor by his name? You don't know what's good for you." The other party was furious and immediately berated. What ancestor? You guys treat Qi Yu as your ancestor, as the heavenly king, but in my eyes, he doesn't have these halos. He's just a person. Empyrean Fairy's tone was indifferent, and did not put Qi Yu in his eyes at all. This action angered the demon clan even more, and a few of them rushed forward while shouting. However, they were just small. Empyrean Fairy pointed her finger at the space between their eyebrows. Bang! 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 The demon clan rolled down the carriage one after another. Only the last person stood on the roof of the carriage like a puppet, his eyes filled with fear. Empyrean Fairy's finger was only a hair's breadth away from his forehead. Just now, when those demon clans were touched by this finger, a black hole appeared between their eyebrows. Then, they died on the spot and rolled down to the bottom of the carriage. In the end, this person obviously knew the power of this finger and couldn't help but tremble in fear. He asked with a fierce expression, "Who exactly are you guys? How dare you go against us, demon clan?" Obviously, this person's status was too low, and he had never seen Empyrean Fairy and the others before. Empyrean Fairy shook her head and sighed, "Looks like you really are a small character, you don't know anything." As soon as he finished speaking, with a puff sound, blood spurted out from the back of Demon Clan's head. A bloody hole appeared between his eyebrows and he fell down with a loud bang. Tang Jing jumped out from the cockpit, holding onto a captive. He lowered his head to look at the ground, saw a few corpses, and said, "Looks like there are quite a few Demon Clan people, but they don't have any powerful characters to hold the fort. They can't even withstand a single blow." "Did you find anything?" Empyrean Fairy asked. Tang Jing pushed the captive in his hands towards the roof of the carriage, causing him to fall to the ground in a sorry state. There was still blood at the corner of his mouth. "I caught one alive." "Ask him. Where are you guys going with the witch clan?" Yi Yuan asked impatiently. Suspicion flashed across the demon clan's eyes as he asked blankly, "What are you guys talking about? Why can't I understand a single word?" Yi Yuan flew into a rage and kicked the other party in the stomach. The demon clan curled up into a ball and stammered, "I really don't know what you guys are talking about. What witch clan?" "I don't know." The few of them looked at each other in dismay. They thought to themselves that they were still being stubborn even when they were about to die. Then I'll let you know when you die. Tang Jing snorted coldly, grabbed the demon clan and jumped off the carriage. He tore off the lock of the carriage and opened the carriage door with a creak. A ray of sunlight shot into the carriage from the outside. Everyone's eyes widened in surprise. They saw that there were indeed many large boxes in the carriage, which was exactly the same as the information. Yi Yuan impatiently rushed forward, but it was too late for Tang Jing to stop him. With a bang, Yi Yuan opened the top of a box. Chapter 13:10. Seeing the change in Yi Yuan's expression, the others were shocked and immediately asked, "What's wrong?" Yi Yuan turned his head, his eyes filled with disappointment and surprise, and stammered, "No one." Tang Jing was shocked. How can there be no one? Li Xiaotian shouted that it was impossible. After all, she was the one who collected the information, so how could it be wrong? The few of them jumped into the carriage at the same time, came to Yi Yuan's side, and looked into the box. Ah! The few of them were shocked. Their reaction was similar to Yi Yuan's. The box was actually empty. Where was the witch clan? There wasn't even a shadow of a ghost. The few of them looked at each other. What was going on? Li Xiaotian's expression changed as he muttered to himself, "Impossible, the information can't be wrong." She turned around and opened another box. It was also empty. Seeing that, the others all opened the other boxes, but they were all empty. What the hell? Isn't this the witch clan? Why is it empty? Tang Jing turned around and grabbed the demon clan by the collar, and asked sternly, "I don't have the patience, hurry up and tell me, what exactly is going on? How could it be empty? Where is the witch clan?" The demon clan was at a loss, as if he did not know that he was transporting an empty box, and subconsciously shook his head. "We've been tricked." Empyrean Fairy shook her head and said, "Cheated." Li Xiaotian felt as if she had been struck by lightning. This was the information that she had gathered, but in the end, she found out that it was fake. Yi Yuan's face revealed a look of despair as he said dejectedly, "Then wouldn't my clansmen be in danger?" Tang Jing also knew that the situation had far exceeded their expectations. From the looks of it, Qiyu was truly cunning, to actually build a plank road and secretly move forward. Qiyu was very clear about the strength that Tang Jing possessed, and definitely considered that he would be able to track down some clues. Therefore, he temporarily changed the scene of a leopard cat replacing the crown prince, and changed the real witch clan away, leaving Li Xiaotian with a fake target. In this way, the real target would be able to reach its destination without any hindrance, and his schemes would naturally not be hindered. When he thought about the threat that the shaman tribe was about to face, Tang Jing was burning with anxiety. His killing intent surged, and with a turn of his eyes, he locked onto the demon. "Since you don't want to cooperate, then you deserve to die." After Tang Jing finished speaking, he grabbed his head. "Oh!" The demon let out a heart-wrenching cry. His entire body trembled uncontrollably. However, Tang Jing showed no mercy at all. The others looked at Tang Jing with burning eyes, knowing that he was using the soul-searching technique. Not long after, the demon foamed at the mouth, his body twitched, and in the end, he spat out blood. His eyes widened, and he breathed his last. After Tang Jing's cultivation had increased greatly, even the side effects of the soul-searching technique had become extremely tyrannical. He could directly take a person's life, not just turning them into fools like before. Tang Jing loosened his grip, and the demon fell limply to the ground. The others hurriedly asked, "How is it?" Tang Jing said in a deep voice, "This person really doesn't know anything. He doesn't know where the witch clan went, and he doesn't even know about the attack on the island." "Ah, then wouldn't that mean that the clues are broken?" Yi Yuan said in disappointment, "They have already left for so long, maybe they have already reached their destination. Aren't my clansmen hopeless?" Yi Yuan's pain infected everyone, causing them to feel the same way. Not necessarily. Tang Jing said in a clear voice, although he doesn't know anything about the witch clan, he knows about the demon clan's lair. After so many people from the demon clan returned, they would naturally have a gathering place, which would be their lair. This was especially mysterious. Whether it was Li Shaotian, the Azure Dragon Palace, or the authorities, none of them had any clues. Empyrean Fairy's eyes lit up, and praised, "This way, we can directly go to the demon clan's lair, and we will definitely find something. Yes, there's no time to lose. We'll set off immediately. We'll talk about it in detail on the way." Tang Jing summoned the somersault cloud again. "Fu Yao, come up." Empyrean Fairy looked at the somersault cloud and hesitated for a moment. In the end, she still flew onto the somersault cloud. Her speed was not as fast as the somersault cloud. Although she was unwilling to admit it, it was the truth and she could not doubt it. Moreover, there might be a fierce battle later. Recuperating and conserving his energy was the right choice. The somersault cloud flew into the sky with a whoosh, leaving behind a long line of traffic on the highway. On the somersault cloud, Tang Jing contacted his family and told them about the current situation. Then, he told them to turn around and march towards the demon clan's old chow. The family had gathered almost all the cultivators and warriors with strong martial arts. A direct confrontation with the demon clan was inevitable, and if they did not use all their martial arts, they would not be able to win. Hearing Tang Zhang's orderly arrangements and dispatches, the few of them chose to remain silent. It was useless to be anxious, so they gradually calmed down and prepared for the upcoming battle. Empyrean Fairy asked curiously, "If the witch clan is not brought back to the demon clan's lair, then wouldn't we be too late?" Hearing that, Yi Yuan's expression froze, and his face became extremely ugly. This was the result he was most afraid of. Tang Zhang's expression changed slightly. This was the result he did not want to see the most. He took a deep breath and said, "If that's really the case, then with so many people in the demon clan's lair, there will definitely be someone who knows about the witch clan. We will definitely be able to catch up with them." There was one last thing he did not say, and that was that they might not be able to catch up. Looking at Tang Zhang's confident look, they seemed to have found their backbone again. Their hearts calmed down, and their expressions became much gentler. Only Empyrean Fairy looked at Tang Jing with deep meaning. The two of them were very clear about the dangerous situation they were in, and did not have 100% confidence. The somersault cloud moved as fast as lightning, leaving only a shadow in the sky as it carried them deep into the mountains. This was a mountain range that stretched for tens of thousands of kilometers in the middle of Huaxia. It was majestic and spectacular. The somersault cloud flew towards the depths of the mountain range. This was the information that Tang Jing had obtained using the soul-searching technique. The demon clan was hiding in the deepest part of the mountain range, and looking at the undulating mountain range beneath his feet, there was no road at all. The expressions of the few of them changed at the same time. A thought popped up in their minds. It was likely that the witch clan had not been brought here, because vehicles could not pass through here. If they wanted to bring the witch clan here, they would have to spend a lot of effort. In the distance, a towering mountain reached into the clouds. Although it was not as tall as Heaven Mountain, it still gave people the feeling of looking up at a tall mountain. Yes, humans could only look up to the uncanny workmanship of nature. The demon clan's lair is in that mountain. Tang Jing pointed to the mountain peak and said, "I'm afraid there's an array formation around here." Empyrean Fairy was experienced and reminded him in time. Tang Zhang's reply was interrupted before it could even leave his mouth. The somersault cloud was flying at an extremely high speed, crashing into an invisible Buddha shield. Bang! An explosion that sounded like muffled thunder resounded through the clouds, quickly spreading to every corner of the mountain peak below. Crap, there really is a formation. Tang Zhang's expression suddenly changed, and sighed, with such a big commotion, it must have alerted the demon clan, then our plan to ambush them will be foiled. Empyrean Fairy snorted, and said indifferently, "What are you afraid of? Just rush in." "Right, let's rush in. We have to find our clansmen as soon as possible." Yi Yuan was also impatient and eager to give it a try. In the air surged and a black light appeared out of thin air. It was the protective shield. The somersault cloud stopped in front of the protective shield. The black and white were extremely clear. The scene inside the protective shield became blurry, but through the protective shield, the few of them could still see people gathering on the mountain peak. Rays of light shot into the sky, the demon clan rode on the magic treasure and soared into the sky. "Destroy this protective shield." Tang Jing pointed at the protective shield and said. Empyrean Fairy did not say a word, both of his palms struck out, fiercely smashing onto the protective shield. Bang bang. The protective shield trembled violently, but it actually stabilized and did not collapse. Empyrean Fairy's expression changed slightly, as if she did not expect such an outcome. She did not expect the protective shield to be so sturdy. From afar, they saw a black energy pillar at the peak of the mountain. It soared into the sky and continuously supplied energy to the protective shield. Tang Jing clenched his teeth and said fiercely, "Somersault Cloud, use your speed to break through this protective shield." Empyrean Fairy's attack was actually to no avail, so Tang Jing immediately adjusted his strategy and let the somersault cloud attack. The somersault cloud understood his words and quickly retreated. It retreated a few thousand meters before stopping. Whiz! In the next second, the somersault cloud moved. Like lightning, it streaked across the sky, and the sky seemed to be torn apart. The somersault cloud wants to clash head-on with the protective shield. Li Xiaotian was the first to shout, seeing through the somersault cloud's intentions. Tang Zheng was unmoved. He said, "So what if we clash head-on? This time, we are here to clash head-on with the demons. How can we be blocked by this small protective shield?" Boom! An earth-shattering sound suddenly rang out. The somersault cloud crashed into the protective shield at the fastest speed possible. The black protective shield immediately emitted light, and then shook violently. Crack! A crack appeared on the protective shield. Then, this crack seemed to spread to other areas, spreading rapidly. In a short while, the huge protective shield was filled with cracks. It was as if half the sky had been shattered. Tang Jing stretched out a finger and lightly tapped on the shattered protective shield. The originally sturdy protective shield completely shattered with a boom and dissipated in the air. The black energy pillar at the peak of the mountain also stopped abruptly and disappeared without a trace. The black energy shield retreated, and the scene inside was completely exposed. All that could be seen was a black mass of people floating in the air, eyeing Tang Zheng and the group of uninvited guests covetously. The demons were ready to launch a fatal attack on the four of them. The four of them did not change their expressions. Instead, they were elated. Without the protective shield, they could go find the witch tribe or find someone in the know. They could then interrogate the whereabouts of the witch tribe and the true plan of the demons. The demons glared at the four of them. Their eyes seemed to spit out life. Actually, Tang Zheng had met most of the demons before. After all, when the demons returned, Tang Zheng was at the scene and even caused a ruckus. Kill! Suddenly, a deafening roar rang out from among the demons, spreading from afar. Chapter 13:11. Kill! Shouts of killing soared into the sky, deafening everyone. Tang Zheng and the other three did not have any fear on their faces as they all took out their own magic treasure. A light flashed in Yi Yuan's hand. It was a long spear that shone with a cold light. With a shake of his wrist, the spear flowers fell like flowers. Li Xiaotian took out the heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrows from her back. She was a warrior, so she could not use the storage magic treasure, so she could only carry the bow and arrows on her back. She also enjoyed this point very much. Being inseparable from the divine armament was something she had always dreamed of. She activated Ho Yi's archery technique, her fingers holding onto a shooting sun arrow, and aimed it at the incoming demon clan. Empyrean Fairy did not hide her strength. The other party had the advantage in numbers, and there were many experts among them. She would not be careless. Whiz! A ray of light soared into the sky. The mountain river map flew high up in the sky, looking down from above as it flickered with light. Other than the Azura and the four symbols venerable, Tang Jing did not have any other offensive magic treasure, so he might as well directly take out the four symbols venerable. Boom! For in one, the four symbols venerable merged into one, about the size of an ordinary person, and stood on the somersault cloud. Facing such a heavy burden, the somersault cloud did not tremble at all. After the four symbols venerable broke the seal, his spiritual connection with Tang Jing should be smoother, so there was no need for Tang Jing to enter his body to command. Attack! Tang Jing bellowed, and the few of them attacked at the same time. Hua! Yi Yuan's spear flower trembled, and danced in the sky, like petals falling down. It just so happened to meet the few demon clans that were rushing over. The demon clan was not an ordinary person either. The magic treasure in their hands released rays of light one after another, and rays of light instantly filled the sky. The spear flower shattered, and the light of the demon clan's magic treasure also shattered. As the two sides clashed, the long spear and all sorts of magic treasures clashed. Bang 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 bang, rumbling rumbling, the momentum was terrifying. Whiz! The shooting sun arrow left the bow, shining with golden light. The first move of Ho Yi's archery technique, golden arrow. The shooting sun arrow was indeed extraordinary, especially with the activation of the Ho Yi sword technique. Its power was peerless. Bearing the brunt of the attack, several demons were directly pierced through by the shooting sun arrows. Without even a scream, they fell from the sky, their bodies smashed into pieces. Before the first arrow could be used, the second arrow was already knocked on the bowstring. Li Xiaotian's information was wrong, which made this operation much more dangerous. She was already angry. Seeing these demons, he finally had a place to vent his anger. Kill! She shouted, and with a flick of her finger, a second arrow shot out. The golden light was dazzling, and it seemed to tear the sky apart as it arrived in front of a devil. The demons tried to stop him, activating their magic treasures. Crack! The shooting sun arrow struck the Dharma treasure, and with a crisp sound, the shooting sun arrow pierced through the Dharma treasure. The Dharma treasure's light quickly dimmed, and a large hole appeared. Puff! The owner of the magic treasure spat out a mouthful of blood. Not only had the arrow destroyed the magic treasure, it had also injured him. Like a stray dog, he hurriedly retreated. However, even though he was fast, the shooting sun arrow was faster. His entire body stiffened, and he stopped in his tracks. A flower of blood blossomed from his chest, and the shooting sun arrow flew out. Ah! A belated scream came to an abrupt end, and he watched helplessly as he fell. However, the demons had the advantage in numbers, and this was their nest. They could not retreat, and could only bravely advance. Therefore, more demons stepped forward, and like a tide, they attacked these people. The Empyrean Fairy was silent. When the demons finally arrived in front of her, she roared, "Mountain River Map!" Swish, swish, swish. The mountain river map shone brightly, and a large whirlpool appeared in the center of the map. Pieces of ice blades fell from it. Puff, puff, puff. The ice blades were fast, ruthless, and accurate. The dozen or so demons were more or less hit by the ice blades. A few could not dodge in time, and the ice blades pierced through their heads, killing them on the spot. The Empyrean fairies' indiscriminate attacks were terrifying. However, the demons did not stop in their tracks. They roared one after another and charged forward. The Empyrean fairy narrowed her eyes slightly. Looking at the surging demons, she gritted her teeth and roared, "Mountain river map stone." Bang bang bang. Huge rocks fell from the sky like a rain of rocks. Before the demons could stop, they were hit by the rocks falling from the sky. Their brains burst open, and they were deader than dead. This opening battle did not stop, and Tang Zheng did not take another look. He stared at the demon clan without any distractions, and ordered, "For symbols venerable, take care of these troubles." Hearing this, the honored four symbols leaped from the somersault cloud. His enormous weight was like a heavy bomb falling from the sky. A few demons happened to be in the path of the honored four symbols' fall. Immediately, these demons were trampled into the soil by the honored four symbols. Their bodies were crushed and their bones were crushed, becoming one with the soil. "Those who block me shall die." The honored four symbols roared at the sky and used his arms. Before the demons could get close, they were swept away by his arms and legs. Split. Tang Jing roared. The honored four symbols split into four and charged out in four different directions. The demons abandoned their armor and were not a match for the honored four symbols at all. Not only did the honored four symbols' strength increase, but they were also invulnerable. The demons could not hurt them at all. Therefore, they were moving killing machines. Tang Zheng stood on the somersault cloud and reached out with his hand. Activating the sky-devouring technique, a black hole immediately appeared in his palm. There were many demons who knew about the sky-devouring technique. Seeing the black hole in Tang Zheng's palm, they recognized that it was the sky-devouring technique. They all revealed looks of disdain. "Just the sky-devouring technique, and you dare to use it against the demons. Ha ha ha. You're just showing off your slight skill before an expert, courting your own destruction." The two demons seemed to think that they had picked up a great bargain and charged forward excitedly. The light in their hands released a dazzling light. But before the two of them could release the power of their magic treasures, they discovered that they were firmly controlled by a huge attractive force. "Ah, what's going on?" The demons turned pale with fright and shrieked. Tang Zhang's lips curled into a cold smile. "I'll let you see what the real sky-devouring technique is." Whoosh whoosh. The two demons were sucked over at the same time, but they were not sucked into the black hole. Instead, they were firmly stuck in Tang Zhang's palm. He activated the absorption technique of the sky-devouring technique and frantically absorbed the power of the demons. He had not absorbed the power of others for a very long time. Now, facing so many demons, it was a great opportunity. Moreover, his power had increased rapidly, and his refinement of the power absorbed from the outside world had reached the point of perfection. "Ah!" The two demons immediately let out heart-wrenching screams. There was endless terror in them. "What's going on? Why is my power only leaking now?" Tang Jing sneered. With a thought, the power of the sky-devouring technique increased greatly. The two demons' screams came to an abrupt end as their power was completely absorbed. Tang Zhang's hand loosened, and the two of them fell from the sky. Without their power, the two of them were like two rocks. With a loud bang, they smashed into the ground and broke into pieces. There was no chance of survival. When the other demons saw this, their hearts trembled. They understood that this was no longer the sky-devouring technique they knew. But still, not a single demon retreated. After paying the price of dozens of lives, there were still demons charging forward dauntlessly. "These people are really not afraid of death," Tang Zheng said hatefully. Although the combined strength of the four of them and the four symbols venerable was very strong, but after all, there were so many demons that it was difficult for them to advance. On the ground, the four symbols venerable was surrounded by demons. The four symbols venerable fought with all his might, and his body was already covered in blood. We can't go on like this. We still haven't found the witch clan. It's useless to just kill these demons. Even if we kill them all, we won't be able to save the witch clan. Tang Zheng said to the others. Empyrean Fairy secretly nodded her head and said, from the looks of the current situation, Qi Yu and Saint King are not in their lair. This means that they must have something more important to do, and that is related to the witch clan. Then what should we do? Yi Yuan was relatively weaker, but he had the support of his anger. He did not fall, nor did he take a step back. His body was covered in wounds, as if nothing had happened. Tang Zheng muttered to himself, looking at the fearless demon clan who was rushing over. He clenched his teeth and said, "We must attack the core of the lair. There must be someone there who knows the whereabouts of Qi Yu and Saint King." Just now, Tang Zheng had already caught a few demons and tried to use the soul-searching technique, but he did not find the answer he wanted. These attacking demons were not the core figures, so they definitely did not know where Qi Yu had gone. There must be important figures in the demon clan guarding this lair, so the only way was to charge to the core. However, there were so many people in the demon clan, how could it be so easy to charge through? Cover me, I'll rush over. Tang Zheng made up his mind. It's too dangerous. Li Xiaotian hurriedly advised. Tang Zheng shook his head and said firmly, "For now, this is the only way. Demon clan can afford to delay, but we can't." The few of them understood that what he said was reasonable, so they did not stop him. Woo woo woo. Suddenly, the sound of a horn resounded through the clouds. The demon clan who was fighting fiercely with the few of them actually retreated quickly. They did not continue to fight, nor did they delay in the slightest. The few of them were stunned. They looked at each other in dismay. What was going on? In the blink of an eye, the few of them were at a loss. "I have a bad premonition," Tang Zheng said thoughtfully. The others looked at him suspiciously, not knowing if this premonition was real or fake. Suddenly, Li Xiaotian pointed to the gigantic stone pillar at the peak of the mountain below, and shouted, "Look over there." Previously, the black protective shield had been continuously supplied with energy by a black pillar of light at the peak of the mountain. The few of them did not notice that after the protective shield shattered, the black pillar of light disappeared, revealing a gigantic stone pillar. Now, the stone pillar was gradually glowing with a black light. The light grew stronger and stronger, soaring into the sky like a black sword, piercing through the heavens and covering the sun, causing people to feel fear just by looking at it. "What's going on?" Yi Yuan's expression suddenly changed as he asked with a trembling voice. Tang Zheng and Empyrean Fairy looked at each other, understanding that the bad premonition that Tang Zheng had spoken of was about to come true. Boom! The black pillar of light exploded in the air, turning into balls of black light that were like black clouds. They descended from the sky at an extremely fast speed, directly flying towards the few of them. Chapter 13:12. All of this happened so quickly that no one could defend against it. "Dodge!" Tang Zheng shouted loudly. The few of them scattered in all directions, but it was still too late. In the face of danger, each of them channeled their energy to defend themselves. Rays of light blossomed above their heads. Spear flowers, arrow lights, the light of the mountain river map and the heaven-swallowing technique all revealed their abilities. Boom! 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 A series of loud sounds rang out as a few people flew out in all directions. Yi Yuan spat out a mouthful of blood and directly landed on the ground. At the last moment, he stabbed his spear into the ground, and the spear shaft completed the shape of a full moon, but it removed most of the falling force. Bang! Yi Yuan fell to the ground, spitting out blood and his face pale. The power of the black cloud had greatly exceeded his expectations, and had almost taken half of his life. The others were not at ease either. Li Xiaotian shot out an arrow at the last moment. The sun-shooting arrow had not finished accumulating power, so its power was naturally greatly reduced. After hitting the ball of black light, the black light exploded into pieces. However, the power of the shattered black light did not decrease at all. It was like a sharp knife, causing her body to be covered in wounds and blood to flow out. She stood on the somersault cloud, avoiding the danger of falling down. However, she knelt on one knee, gasping for breath. Blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth, and her face was as white as paper. She was also injured, and it was not light. Empyrean Fairy's cultivation was the most profound, and at the critical moment, a ray of light descended from the mountain river map, enveloping her. The black light collided with the ray of light and shattered into pieces. It continued to attack like a small knife, consuming it bit by bit until it finally turned into nothingness. The black light was unable to do anything to Empyrean Fairy. Tang Zheng was not on the somersault cloud. During the great battle just now, he had flown away from the somersault cloud. When the black light descended, he did not have the time to care about the others and only had time to raise the holy armor shield. Boom! The holy armor shield trembled violently and creaked, as if it was about to be dismembered. However, in the end, the holy armor still held on. The exploding black light did not stop either. It was as small as a blade as it flew towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng stretched out his hand, and the black hole expanded and suspended in front of him. All the black light was sucked into it. He removed the holy armor shield and saw Li Xiaotian kneeling on the somersault cloud and Yi Yuan who had fallen down. His expression was very ugly. The sudden attack this time gave them a heavy blow, almost causing them to lose a few people. It could be said that it wasn't thrilling. Even the four supremes on the ground were attacked by the black light. However, the black light was unable to do anything to the supremes. On the ground, a group of demon clan S discovered Yi Yuan and attacked him from all directions, trying to kill him. Tang Zheng was still in midair, and it was already too late to save him. He shouted loudly, "For symbols venerable, save Yi Yuan." Bang! A four symbols venerable suddenly stomped his feet, and like a rocket that soared into the sky, he soared into the air and landed beside Yi Yuan. Paw! One of the demons at the front was trampled into minced meat. The four symbols venerable bent down, grabbed Yi Yuan and placed him on his shoulder, then glared at the demon clan. Back door, attack the back door of the four symbols venerable and control it. After the demon clan saw the invulnerability of the four symbols venerable, they all changed their strategy and tried to use the back door of the four symbols venerable to control it. A few demon clan S flew up and attacked the back of the four symbols venerable's head from all directions. In order to protect Yi Yuan, the four symbols venerable did not manage to completely defend himself in the end. One of the demon clan S took the opportunity to hit the back of its head. But what they imagined did not happen. The four symbols venerable did not stop moving. Instead, he took the opportunity to strike with his palm. That demon clan was directly smashed onto the cliff and turned into a meat patty. Why not? The demons looked at each other in dismay. This was the method passed down by ancestor Qiyu, but it actually didn't work. Seeing this scene, Tang Zheng sneered in his heart. If it wasn't for the fact that the four symbols venerable no longer had a seal, the so-called back door would have really worked. There is no such thing as a back door now. The demon clan did not know, but they could guess that something was wrong and retreated. Seeing that, Tang Zheng was greatly encouraged, and ordered loudly, "For symbols venerable, chase after him, go to the peak of the mountain and destroy that stone pillar." The four symbols venerable did not say a word, and used his actions to respond to Tang Zheng's orders. The tall trees that covered the mountains and plains were all sacrificed in the path of the four symbols venerables' crazy attack, leaving behind a mess. "Stop him, stop him." Seeing that, the demon clan shouted loudly, stopped retreating, and rushed towards the four symbols venerable without caring about his own safety. "Be careful, that black light is coming again." Empyrean Fairy had been paying attention to the mountain peak the entire time. Seeing that the black light on the stone pillar was flashing again, she immediately reminded him. Tang Jing immediately returned to the somersault cloud, activated the holy armor shield, and blocked Li Xiaotian's head. He held her hand and comforted her. "Don't worry, with me here, you will be fine." A warm feeling came from Li Xiaotian's hand, like a warm current, and struck her heart, causing her heartstrings to tremble. Her gaze towards Tang Jing became much gentler. She did not know where she got the strength from, but she stood up again and nodded heavily. "I can still hold on." Tang Jing released her hand and flew into the sky. "What are you doing?" Li Xiaotian turned pale with fright. "We can't just sit there and wait. I want to see just how powerful this black light is." Tang Jing was unwilling to give up. His cultivation was already very high at the soul formation stage, so he was definitely an expert. He could not allow himself to be completely suppressed by this damned black light. Empyrean Fairy also flew up and stood beside him. "Let me help you." The two of them looked at each other with tacit understanding and nodded lightly. Then, they activated their powers and prepared to attack. Boom! A pillar of black light shot into the sky from the stone pillar and exploded high up in the sky, turning into balls of black clouds that flew toward everyone. These black lights seemed to have locked onto them and could attack them accurately no matter where they were. Tang Jing activated his sky-swallowing technique and a huge black hole formed in front of him. This black hole grew larger and larger, and all the air in the surroundings was sucked into it. A huge vacuum was formed in front of him, and it seemed as if the space around him was about to be torn apart by this suction force. Empyrean Fairy focused her mind, and the mountain river map also released a ball of light, which rushed into the sky to meet the rapidly descending black light. Boom! The two balls of light exploded, and the fragmented black light seemed to be everywhere. It continued to fall rapidly, and its power was not reduced at all. Sky-swallowing technique. Tang Jing roared and the black hole expanded again. Half of the sky was transformed into a black hole, blocking all paths of the descending black light. Whoosh whoosh. The sky-swallowing technique was extraordinarily powerful and could swallow everything. The black light seemed to struggle for a moment, but in the end, it was unable to escape the suction force of the black hole. PFFF PFFF PFFF, all the black light disappeared into the black hole. Tang Jing and Empyrean Fairy breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. The two of them cooperated well and successfully stopped a powerful attack. At this time, the four symbol supremes worked together and reached the mountain peak. All the demons were mobilized in an attempt to stop the four symbol supremes. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The deafening sound of propellers came from afar. Tang Jing turned his head and saw many helicopters flying over. Near the helicopters, there were also people flying in the air. Tang Jing saw Tian Chanzi among them at a glance. "Our people are here." Tang Jing was overjoyed. The demons were indeed powerful, but the most troublesome thing was their large numbers. Even if Tang Jing and the others were powerful, it would take a lot of time to force their way through. They knew very well that the true elites of the demons were not here, but had been taken away by Qi Yu. Qi Yu had mobilized so many people and did not leave the elites of the demons behind to guard the base. This showed that Qi Yu had a big plan. This was even more reason to stop him. While they were talking, the large army arrived in front of them. Tian Chanzi immediately asked, "How is the situation?" Tang Jing pointed down and said, "This is the lair of the demons, but the lair is already empty. Qi Yu, Saint King and the elites of the demons are not here, and no one knows where they went." "Where's the witch clan?" Tang Jing shook his head in disappointment. "I don't know yet." "What do we do now?" "Kill them." "Kill." The witch clan's shouts were deafening, and they all rushed down the mountain peak. Seeing that, the demons also rose into the air to meet the enemy. The people on the helicopter were all warriors, experts from the Yen family and the Li Palace. They had also been transferred over. The Yen family had volunteered, and these helicopters were sent by them. Whiz! A person jumped out of the helicopter and landed on the somersault cloud like a meteorite. "Young Master Tang, what do you want us to do?" Yen Patian asked with a red face. "Elder Yen, why are you here?" Tang Zheng asked in surprise. Yen Patian had actually come, which was enough to show the importance and righteousness of the Yen family. Everyone knew that this battle was a tough one, and life and death were unknown. The fact that Yen Patian was willing to risk his life was enough to show how much importance he placed on Tang Zheng. Yen Patian laughed out loud. "I've been staying at home for so long that I'm about to get sick. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I came out to exercise my muscles and bones. Moreover, by young Master Tang's side, I will definitely reap a lot of benefits. This time, I brought all the elites of the Yen family out." Tang Zheng was filled with gratitude, and thousands of words turned into a "thank you." The black light on the stone pillar gathered again. The four symbols venerable was blocked by a large group of demons, and was still a distance away from the stone pillar. With so many people in the army, if the black light soared into the sky, then these people would suffer. Not all of them had the strength of him and the Empyrean fairy. At that time, it would not be the demon clan that was destroyed first, but his own people. Boom! The black light soared into the sky. "It's too late." Tang Zheng shouted loudly. He soared into the air, turned into a ray of light, and pounced towards the black light that was rushing towards the horizon. Judging from his previous experience, this black light would not explode until it reached the highest point. Therefore, Tang Zheng had to take advantage of this time difference. Taking advantage of the fact that the other party had yet to explode, he used the heaven-swallowing technique to suck all the black light into the black hole. He activated the heaven-swallowing technique, and a black hole quickly appeared in front of his chest. It grew larger and larger, and when he intercepted the path of the black light, the black hole was already extremely large. Boom! The black light rushed into the black hole. The two black lights collided with each other, and Tang Zheng was pushed even higher by the huge force. The others watched this scene with their mouths agape, their hearts in their throats. What did it mean to sacrifice oneself for righteousness and not fear death? This was what it meant.